Yo, Grand Rising, everybody. How you doing? It's your Coach Renz. If you're watching this later on, you might want to skip to the 5-minute mark. I see Munoz Jose is already here on YouTube. Already here. We are getting started today. I know normally we do this live on Tuesdays, but I was not feeling great. So guess what? We didn't do a live. But we back in action. It rained all day today, so I had to let the rain subside. Might get a little bit more rain, so we'll see if we can get this live in before it starts raining on me. Just got a little check the weather thing. So we're giving about 5 minutes for people to get on. Get my cigar ready. So today is what's wrong with the Bible, Deuteronomy 31 and 32. If you did not see the previous edition, you can go to my YouTube channel. It's the easiest way to find it. On my YouTube channel, go to my YouTube channel, go to my playlist. You'll see Deuteronomy, and you'll be able to catch up. You'll be able to see all the ones we did for Deuteronomy. You'll also be able to see all the ones we've done for Genesis and Leviticus and Numbers and so on and so forth. You get to see all the old ones that we've already done with what's wrong with the Bible series. So we also started a new series today. TikTok, I need y'all to heart it up so that the trolls don't get us canceled. But we started a new series today. You probably only saw 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes of the video of the Egyptian creation myths. That's a new series that we're starting, but that series, the full-length videos are only on the page, Facebook and YouTube, for members and subscription holders. Members and subscription holders on YouTube. It is my way of saying thanks to the people who support the channel financially with their $5 donations on YouTube and Facebook. TikTok don't allow me to do that yet, so I can't do it on TikTok. But if you want to see that series as we continue, we did the Egyptian stories based on the 4 creation stories, on the 4 primary creation stories, which comes from Heliopolis, Thebes, Memphis, and Hippopolis. So we did that video posted. You got the first 5 minutes of it on the regular channel. The rest of it is only for members, is on there for members and subscribers on YouTube and Facebook. So we're gonna, on that series, I'll be doing the also be doing the Greeks, the Chinese, the Aztecs, the Mayans, Incas. Every week I'm gonna drop at least one video on the private member and subscription holders on Facebook and YouTube. That's going to be breaking out the stories, because as we see these different creation stories, it allows for us to be able to understand why we deconstructed from the Bible, how the biblical stories are somewhat copies from people. Elements are copied from Levantian and Mediterranean people, but there's also a group mind share. There's a group thought. There's the aspect that everybody looked at the sky, everybody looked at the stars, everybody who had a mountain saw the mountain and created deities in the mountains, and so on and so forth, whether they had rivers or lakes and oceans. So everybody created based on what was in their natural environment, but everybody saw the stars, everybody saw planets, everybody saw the sun and the moon. So those, in almost every creation story, those are parts of it. So if you want to see the full-length video of the Egyptian one that I did, which is the 101 version, it gave you the basic concepts of Ra, Aktun, Ptah, and Amun, and their different creation story based on the cities to which those stories developed in. So I want to thank everybody. For all my members and subscription holders, I appreciate you guys, and I thank you for being there, for supporting the channel financially. For everybody who does a super chat or gives a gift, a super chat on Facebook and YouTube, and everybody who gives a gift on TikTok, I appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the channel in that format as well. Most importantly, thank you for supporting the channel by subscribing and sharing. If you do nothing, follow the channels and share the videos. That is actually a great benefit. And keep talking, keep sharing, keep having communication, talk to each other, talk to me. Let's really make the channel a community, to which it was designed to be, a community for people who have decided to deconstruct. So grand rising to everybody who's spoken up: Carlos, Munez, Watson, Weatherspoon. Grand rising to all the people. TikTok, a lot of y'all people joined, and the names now went past me, so I can't see everybody, but I thank you guys for being here. Well, it's time to light the cigar, and today we are doing Deuteronomy 31 and 32. This series was created because they said, hey, you need to read your Bible. You don't understand what the Bible says, so you need to read the Bible. So a year plus 2 years ago, we started reading the Bible. We started reading 2 chapters per week, and we break it down for what's good about it and what's bullshit about it. And that's what we're doing. It's been some boring ones where it was like nauseating, and some of these still are. So we are in the part still where Deuteronomy, which is called the second law, Moses is pontificating once again about the laws that they need to keep, and if they don't keep them, this God is going to punish the shit out of them. So we're going to do a little bit of background. We're going to look at why this is a cruel deity. And I don't even understand how you could not have convinced me back in the day. Oh, you got to worship this cruel ass deity. I've been like, that's not a deity I want to worship. And before that, today's cigar is the Partagas Verde. It's a really great cigar. So let me light it up, and then we're going to get started. Grand rising to everybody. I know these we do later times during the summer because it's too damn hot for me to be outside during the regular part of the day. It's too hot. It had a feel like of 102 today. So there was absolutely no way I was coming out here. Thank you for sharing the video, Wayne. You're gonna share it to Pastor. That's funny. That's funny. All right, let me get you. Let me get you. All right. All right. This Partagas Verde is becoming one of my favorites. So, where are we at? We're talking about we're in Moses. We're in Moses. We're in Deuteronomy. And the way this works, so for anybody who is new, the way this works is that we will read through 31 and 32. We'll talk about it as we read through it. Please keep current questions pertaining to what we're going over right now. Then after we do this, we have open conversation. We can talk about anything at a max of 3 hours. A max of 3 hours. At the 3 hours point, I'm definitely done. I don't care what we talking about. But at a max of that. So, and I'm doing this without my glasses because I don't like wearing them. My reading glasses. So let's get into it. So Moses continued to speak these words to all Israel, and he said it to them: I am 120 years old this day. I am no longer able to go out and come in. The Lord has said to me, you shall not go over this Jordan. The Lord your God himself will go over before you. He will destroy the nations before you, so that you shall dispose of them. And Joshua will go over at your head, as the Lord has spoken. So Moses is supposed to be 120 at this time frame. And remember back in Genesis, this guy said that the number of days of man would be 120 after the flood had happened. Now we know that there have been people who have lived past 120. And a lot of pastors like to use verses in the Bible that says that the more obedient you are to God, then the longer your days will be. But isn't it interesting that the overwhelming majority of people who live beyond 120 are not Christians? Did you guys know that? That the overwhelming majority of people who live over 100 are people who are living in the mountains of China. They're living in small mountain villages in Japan. They're in that um, Eastern Europe, Western Asia areas like Kazakhstan and all of that. These are people who do not believe in the Christian God, but yet they're living past 120. And I'm going to get into this more in detail when I go over the Sumerian creation story. According to the Sumerian creation story, as well as when I do the Ifa creation story. Well, you know what? There's also an element of this in the Aztec creation story, and the I think the Aboriginal creation story has this as well. But in each one of those stories, there was the gods did something to decrease the number of years a person would live. Biologically, we know that the human body should be able to function for about 200 years in a perfect situation. Should be able to live for about 200 years. But on one of our telomeres, well, our telomere caps, I think it's the 32nd, on the 32nd, and somewhere in the 32nd of our DNA chromosome, our telomeres were capped, and artificially is what biologists say. It's not me saying it, it's biologists say that artificially it was capped so that we would not live much longer than 120 years. Now, if you don't know what telomeres are, so you are able to live because each cell has telomeres on them. These telomeres are caps at the top of your cells on the four corners of the cell, and every 3 to 7 years your body regenerates. So your liver creates a new liver every 3 to 7 years. Your lungs are new every 3 to 7 years because your cells keep replicating themselves. Old age is when your cells stop replicating themselves, right? Now, every time your cells replicate, the telomeres at the caps of your cells get shorter and shorter and shorter. Once the telomeres are gone, your cells can't replicate anymore. That's old age. The reason why cancer is such a hard virus to deal with, like my camera. Hold on, let me grab this, get my shirt. The reason why cancer is such a hard disease to deal with. Thank you. Let me know if there's too much humidity on any of the camera. Appreciate it, Dimples. Is because the telomeres on cancer cells never decrease every time they replicate. They continue to be the same length every time, which makes cancer very difficult. So you're designed to live longer, but we actually live around 120. Some say that the Bible said so, but there are many cultures that teach the same thing, that man's years were capped or man's intelligence was dumbed down. So when I go over some of the other creation stories, that's something we'll definitely get back into, right? I already got a restriction from TikTok because of my cigar. People can be half naked on TikTok, but don't smoke a cigar. All right, so now, if you don't remember, the reason why Moses can't go into the promised land is because Moses, when the people were thirsty and he split this rock, he took the credit for it and didn't do it the way this guy told him to. The guy told him to speak to the rock, but Moses instead hit the rock with his staff. And so even though Moses had did all these other things for this guy said, oh, because of that, and you took the credit and all the credit belonged to me, you will never go into the promised land. So this is why Moses is saying that he's not going to go into the promised land, as a reminder from when we read that earlier on in Exodus. So this God is also saying he's going to go before them. He's going to kill all the Canaanites who are dwelling in the land, and then Joshua is going to be in charge. So to continue, and the Lord will give them over to you, and you shall do with them according to all the commands which I have commanded you, which is the genocide. If you remember in previous chapters of Deuteronomy, he was saying that when you go into there, you're going to kill everybody, the men, the women, the children, the babies, the old people, the animals, everything. And when we get into the book of Joshua, that's exactly what they claim that they did, is to kill everybody. So this God is like, we're going to genocide everything. And that's what he commanded them to do. So be strong and of good courage. Do not fear or be in dread of them. For it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not fail you or forsake you. So he's not going to fail them, not going to forsake them according to their story. Now, Moses is also given this warning because the previous generation were afraid, and because of their fear, this is why they had to walk around for 40 years in the wilderness. Then Moses summoned Joshua and said to him in the sight of all of Israel, be strong and of good courage, for you shall go with these people into the land which the Lord has sworn to their fathers, to give them, and you shall put them in possession of it. It is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you, and he will not fail you or forsake you. Do not fear or be dismayed. Now, historically, there's absolutely zero evidence of the Israelites going in and conquering Jericho or any of these lands. Historically, these events are supposedly happening in around the 1100s, in around the 1100s to 1000 BCE. Now, the walls of Jericho last stood around 1500 BCE, and they were destroyed around 1500 BCE. They were controlled by the Canaanite people, to which the Israelites are Canaanites themselves. But the Israelites at that time frame were just nomadic hillside wanderers living under the rule of the Egyptians. So it was most likely that the Egyptians destroyed Jericho when they conquered the Levant, or went after them for an uprising during that time frame, because it has been under Egyptian control during this time frame for an incredibly long time, for centuries. Now, around 1200 BCE is when Meneptah, the pharaoh, or the king of the pharaoh Meneptah of Egypt, came in and defeated these nomadic people that he named called Israelites. They were not in control of Jericho at the time frame that Meneptah came in. Grand Rising, Georgia. Grand Rising, Shan. What part of Georgia? Got to say hey to my home people if she's from my part of Georgia. But they were not. They were not. The Israelites were not in control of Jericho when they came in 1200, and the walls of Jericho had already been down. The walls of Jericho were never rebuilt until around 1000 to 900 BCE. So the time frame that this was happening was about 100 to 200 years prior to them being there, to the Israelites being there. So there are no walls of Jericho, and we'll go over that in more detail when we get to that part of it. Here we go with TikTok tripping. I swear to y'all, I hate TikTok. If y'all don't know, I hate them. So because of that, because they were not there. All right, Savannah, Stefan, is Savannah. I'm from Atlanta. Caracas. Man, I'm not even gonna try to say that. Shelly. I don't even know what that is. I'm gonna have to look that up later. Um, Savannah, two people in Savannah. All right, cool. Because of that time frame, because of what they didn't exist during that time frame, we know that they are not going in to conquer any people in Jericho. What this is really talking about is the fact that during the Bronze Age collapse, you have the hillside people who were Canaanites, who separated themselves to become Israelites, are simply creating their own history. And this is the process by which they created their own history, by making up their own stories. And there was no one to challenge these stories because they're not written down until around 900 to 800, at the latest 700 BCE. So, to continue. And Moses wrote this law and gave it to the priests and the sons of Levi, who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and to all the elders of Israel. And Moses commanded them at the end of every 7 years, at the set time of the year, to release at the Feast of Booths, When all Israel comes together before the Lord your God at the place which he will choose, you shall read this law before all Israel in their hearing. Assemble the people, men, women, and little children, and the little ones, and the sojourners within your towns, that they may hear and learn to fear the Lord your God, and be careful to do all the words of this law, and that their children who have not known it may hear and learn and to fear the Lord your God as long as you live in the land which you are going over the Jordan to possess. So this God, fear tactic. You want to create that generational cognitive dissonance is the word I don't want to use. That generational conditioning to mind control the people by making sure that every 7 years you read this over and over again, so that every generation will believe it and fear this God. Because we know that in the previous chapter, all the curses that this God says that he will do to the people if they don't. And of course, in 32, he's going to reiterate many of the curses because he already plans for these people to disrespect him and go and believe in other gods. Hong Kong. Oh, in Hong Kong? Cool. We not reach Hong Kong, y'all. And the Lord said to Moses, behold, the days approach when you must die. Call Joshua and present yourselves in the tent of meetings that I may commission him. And Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tent of meetings. And the Lord appeared in the tent in a pillar of clouds, and the pillar of clouds stood by the door of the tent. So again, with the pillar of cloud, this guy just can't show himself up as he keeps showing himself in different ways. So now he's coming as a pillar of clouds. And the Lord said to Moses, behold, you are about to sleep with your fathers. Then this people will rise and play the harlot after the strange gods of the land, where they go to be among them, and they will forsake me and break my covenant which I have made with them. Then my anger will be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them and hide my face from them, and they will be devoured, and many evil and troubles will come upon them, so that they will say in that day, have not these evil come upon us, because our Lord is not among us? And I will surely hide my face in that day on account of all the evil which they have done, because they have turned to other gods. Now therefore write this song and teach it to the people of Israel. Put it in their mouths, that this song may be a witness for me against the people of Israel. So this God needs a song to be written, and this is going to be a terrible ass song, by the way. So he's going to have a song because he already predicts and expects that these children of Israel are going to turn away to other gods. And this is one of those things that people like the Hebrew Israelites like to use to condition to get people to come over to their side. You see, God had already predicted that the children of Israel were going to be disobedient to him, and because of their disobedience, they were sent off into different lands. Well, the reality of this is that this is being written at the time frame, most likely is being edited at the, most scholars let me rephrase it. Most scholars agree that this is being edited during the time frame that the Assyrians were capturing the overwhelming majority of the northern Israel. The only place they didn't capture was the city-state of Jerusalem. And that the Jewish people, the Hebrew people, were being sent into exile into the Assyrian Empire, which stretched all the way down to the Sinai Peninsula up into Syria, Lebanon, and all the way back to the Tigris-Euphrates River. So they were really just expressing the fact that this was already happening to them, that they have turned away from this God and they were worshiping the gods of the Assyrians, which would be the goddess Sin is one of the primary goddess, Baal, otherwise known as Marduk into the Babylonians, but worshiping Dumuzi and Elnana. So they were worshiping these other gods, and because they had been sent off into this diaspora. And so they're really not writing prophecy. They're writing what is already happening in their life, and they're making it look like this God was prophesizing what's going to happen. But every group has then tried to utilize the same thing. The Hebrew Israelites today use this to say that's why they had to deal with the transatlantic slave trade. The Israelites in the 700s under Titus, who were exiled out of Israel all over the Roman Empire, said that's why they were exiled. The Jews who were in Spain and Portugal and France and Italy in the 1500s, this is why they say that they were then exiled out of Europe. They utilize these same texts for every time frame they face being exiled and blame it on the lack of the people worshiping this God. And you can use this over and over again, but we have to be smart enough to realize that all they're doing is taking this one trope, and when it should be just for a one time frame, they make it for all time frames. Now this song is going to be horrible when we get to it. We really don't get to the song until we get to 32. Okay, so hide my face. Where the hell did I leave off? Witness against the people of Israel. Okay, so verse 20. For when I have brought them out of the land flowing with milk and honey, which I have swore to give to their fathers, and they have eaten and are full and grown fat, they will turn to other gods and serve them and despise me and break my covenant, which makes no sense. I'm sorry. That's like saying, oh, I got a really good parent or a really good spouse, and they take really good care of me. But because they take good care of me and I'm just going to take them for granted and I'm going to go off and get with somebody else. You know what? People do that. People do that. I knew I was going to say that. I just made it sound like I wasn't going to say it, but I was going to say it anyway. But people do that. So this is written in a way that you know how people's minds think. People get comfortable in their situations, and then they start looking elsewhere because they figure that's going to always be there. So I would take that as a good warning, just of people to understand. Don't take anybody for granted. 3 o'clock in the morning in Zurich. Oh, you gotta have some good money to go to Zurich. Every damn thing's expensive. I'm gonna break the covenant. Okay. And when many evils and troubles have come upon them, this song shall comfort them as a witness, for it will live unforgotten in the mouths of their descendants. For I know the purpose which they are already forming, before I have brought them into the land that I swore to give. So Moses wrote this song the same day and taught it to the people of Israel. Now, my thing is, if I'm the God, why would I make a people who already know or claim you're going to be my people and already know that you're going to go against me? If I'm a God, I'm trying to I want my loyal ones. I'm not going to give you the milk and honey knowing that you're going to be jacked up. That would be like if you went and married somebody, but you know they're going to cheat on you. You marry somebody, you know they're going to steal from you. You marry somebody and you know they're going to be an abuser towards you. Why would you even get with those people in the first place? You know, this guy should have just been like, nah, y'all ain't the right people for me to deal with. I need to deal with some people who are going to heed my commands, my statutes, and all my other bullshit. And then we're going to be good. We're going to be good forever. And the Lord commissioned Joshua, the son of Nun, and said, be strong and of good courage, for you shall bring the children of Israel into the land which I swore to give them, and I will be with you. When Moses had finished writing the words of the law in the book to the very end, Moses commanded the Levites to carry the Levites who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, take this book of the law and put it by the side of the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be there for a witness against you. I got a question. Where's the ark of the covenant? They supposed to have this commission is supposed to last forever, right? So if it's supposed to last forever, if this commission is supposed to last forever, if every 7 years they're supposed to bring out the ark of the covenant and they're supposed to read all the laws, where and when is this being done? Next time you're facing a Hebrew Israelite, ask them how do they maintain this majestic TikTok said that it's in Ethiopia. The Orthodox Christians Orthodox Jews in Ethiopia claim that they have it in Ethiopia, but it's only a claim. They have apps. That joker flew right in my ear. It's only a claim. They have absolutely no proof. They won't prove it. Wouldn't that be the easiest thing to validate your religion as truth? Is that if you have the Ark of the Covenant, show it to the world. I know they fear that somebody may come and take it, but if it's the Ark of the Covenant and it has all the power that they claim that it has, then no one should be able to come near it, or they will die, and nobody will be able to claim it. You would have it. You'd be able to, because in they make it sound, they say the Ark of the Covenant is supposed to be this big ass weapon, this thing of God. If you carrying it, how can anybody come and take it from you? So let it be seen, let it be known. People claiming all over the place. Stefan said, why does there need to be a song? I see the bugs want to come out. Why does there need to be a song to convince himself to be faithful to the people that he supposedly saved in the first place? Now, the song is supposed to be to remind the people, but it's supposed to be his witness to the people. So it is rather stupid. If you want to remind us that you are this deity, show us the big pillar of cloud, right? Show us the big fire pillars coming down. Show up. Show up. Farah, because that's not what this particular podcast is about today. But if you want to talk about that after we're done with the reading part, which we only have one more chapter, you are more than welcome to bring that question up. I ask people to stay on the subject matter until we get out of the reading part so that we don't get distracted. But I have made plenty of videos about that situation. So the proper question would have been, have you talked about? Not why don't you talk about? That's one thing that, and I'm not fussing, so don't get in your feelings. The one thing about elevating your consciousness is understanding appropriate questions to ask at the appropriate time to be able to get the appropriate response that you desire. Okay. And that's what, like, I did a video today, which is an elevation of consciousness, see where people's mind goes. So I do a lot of those videos as well. Dark Saber, Star Wars. Dark Saber says the ark was destroyed when the Hebrews were enslaved. The tablets smashed and the sticks broken, and the box melted down for its gold, if it existed. Okay, so where do you get that information from? Where do you get that information from? Because we want to be able to back that up. I haven't read any stories in the midrashes or in anything that would indicate that that's what happened to it, because people are claiming they have it, you know. But and that's the thing. If I had the Ark of the Covenant, I'm going to display it. I'm going to display it. Have you seen the Ethiopian woman who hasn't eaten in 16 years? They are. You really believe that woman hasn't eaten in 16 years? There's no proof that that woman hasn't eaten in 16 years. That is merely a claim. That is merely a claim. And if it fits the narrative, people will jump on it. But let's not get off track here. All right. So he supposedly put it in the Ark of the Covenant, where we are. So he took the book of the law and put it on the side of the Ark of the Covenant, the Lord your God, that it may be there for a witness against you. For I know how rebellious and stubborn you are. Behold, while I am yet alive with you, today you have been rebellious against the Lord. How much more after my death? Assemble to me the elders of your tribes and your officers, that I may speak these words in their ears, and call heaven and earth to witness against them. For I know that after my death, you will surely act corruptly and turn aside from the way which I have commanded you. In the days to come, evil will befall you because you will do what is evil in the sight of the Lord, provoking him to anger through the works of your hands. Isn't it interesting, Grand Rising Echo, that this deity can only maintain the obedience of the people if he has a henchman like Moses to make sure to punish them when they act up? Why couldn't that aspect been passed on to Joshua and then passed on and passed on and passed on and passed on? Remember, you got to think about how this story rolls, right? Think about how this story rolls. After the Exodus, Moses is in place, and right, if you have the ark is supposed to protect you, exactly. Moses has this. Moses is in place. They get through Egypt, get through into the land. Oh, they want to come and attack you. Bam, fire, ocean splitting, all this stuff. All right. Then TikTok just keep on doing this. Then after that part, um, they getting bit by vipers. Make a golden serpent. They do a golden calf. Kill 3,000 of them. They hungry manna. They complain about eating manna. What do? We did the math. It was like 1.2 trillion quail come down. Feed the people. They act up. Earthquakes swallow up whole families and tribes of people. Moses was there like an enforcer every time they act up. Now Moses is acting like a grumpy old man who's saying that, oh, when I leave, y'all gonna act a fool and act out, and God gonna punish the hell out of y'all and such and such. Why, if this God was such an intelligent God who knows all things, and he knows that the people are more likely to stay in line if he has an enforcer with them, why didn't Joshua become that enforcer with the same powers as Moses? And then when Joshua dies, why didn't his son, whoever, continue that line? That person, if this God wanted to validate itself, who has the power to call upon this God's wrath and to know what this God exactly wants, why hasn't that person been in place on a consistent basis so that the people will know that this God is their God and continue to follow this God? I've said it a whole bunch of times. This God is the worst planner and governor created, because he creates situations that makes people ignore the shit out of him or go do what they want to do. And then all these writings are being backtracked. They're being written after supposedly events happen to try to justify what is going on with the Israelite people. And what, you got some internal? You got some internal love? You're supposed to know what to do, what not to do? This God has been MIA forever. Stefan, right, Jesus didn't show up for 400 years of slavery, and that God of the Old Testament didn't really save the. I know it didn't happen. Right, he's saying he know it really didn't happen, but to save the slaves against the Egyptians, he purposely hardened Pharaoh's heart. This God purposely sets people up for failure on a consistent basis, and that's just what he is. That's what he does. But if you've been born into it and conditioned into it, or surrounded by it, and then you fall into the trap of this religion, you can't help it. You make this shit make sense to you, and it really just doesn't. All right, chapter 32 is just the song. So I want y'all to imagine this is the song that is supposed to be a witness to that this God is their God, and to remind the people in every 7 years they're supposed to sing this song. If I ever encounter a Hebrew Israelite, one of the things I'm going to ask them, I'm going to say, so every 7 years, do you sing the song? I mean, you should know it by heart, but do you sing the song? And if they can't quote Deuteronomy 32 by heart, they're not following the law. They're not following what this God said they're supposed to do in perpetuity. So let's sing this song, y'all. You're welcome, Mark. Give ear, O heaven, and I will speak, and let the earth hear the words of my mouth. May my teachings drop as the rain, my speech distill as the dew, as the gentle rain upon the tender grass, and as the showers upon the herbs. For I will proclaim the name of the Lord and ascribe greatness to our God. The rock, if you smell the rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are justice. A God of faithfulness and without iniquity, just and right is he. If you're saying this God is just and right and perfect, you got major problems. This God admitted himself that he regretted ever making man. So he already just ain't right from the beginning, and I'm gonna call Dwayne Johnson. I think he got some copyright infringement going on, right? But that's just me being stupid, so don't pay attention to that part. But the fact of the matter is, this God is not perfect. His justice is not always right. Anytime you're genociding babies, your justice is not right. Anytime you write laws that says that girls have to marry their essayists, you're not justice. This is not justice. This is not right. But let's continue with this song because it is rather long. A faithful and okay. They have dealt corruptly with him. They are no longer his children because of their blemish. They are a perverse and crooked generation. Do you thus requite the Lord, you foolish and senseless people? Is not he your father who created you, who made you and established you? Remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations. Ask your fathers, and he will show you, your elders, and they will tell you. You should not be asking your fathers and your elders about this God, because your fathers and elders are just teaching you what they have been taught. They are, and I know in this instance he's talking about ask your fathers and your elders because they supposedly saw all the things that this God did coming out of Egypt. But this generation that's currently standing, only Moses, Caleb, and Joshua would have been witness to any of those things because everybody else is dead. A few people who were in their teens may remember, but for the most part, everyone's dead. There's no eyewitnesses to this. But we, of course, like I said earlier, this has been written thousands of years, hundreds of years after the supposedly events happened. Not thousands, but hundreds of years after it happened. No. But this deity did not create them, nor did he establish them or make them. So that's another thing people use to control people by making them think that, well, this guy created you, he can do whatever he wants. If it wasn't for my seed, my children wouldn't have been created. So does that mean I can go and do whatever I want to my almost 30-year-old daughter, my 29-year-old, to my 24-year, to my 20-year-old son? I can go do what I want to them? Of course not. Of course not. To continue, let's sing the song. When the Most High gives to the nation their inheritance, when he separated the son of men, he fixed the bounds of the people, according to the number of the sons of God. For the Lord portions, for the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob has allotted heritage. He found him in the desert land and in the howling waste of the wilderness. He enticed him and cared for him. He kept him as an apple of his eye. Like an eagle, he stirs up its nest and flutters over his young, spreading out his wing, catching them, bearing them on his pinions. Have you ever seen an eagle flying with his birds on his wing? I know that they're being metaphoric and everything and trying to sing the song, but use some lyrics that are realistic. And Jacob was not howling and wasting the wilderness. Jacob stayed with his parent. I mean, he was with his parents. Then he went to his uncle, and then he got rich with his uncle. Then with him and his 4 wives and all their children, they continued to prosper. They had slaves, and they continued to prosper, lied to his brother. Jacob was never suffering. So I don't know about this wilderness trash that he's talking about with Jacob. That never happened. He's just making up stuff so that it can sound good. The Lord alone did lead him, and there was no foreign god with him. He made him ride on the high places of the earth, and he ate the produce of his field, and he made him suck honey out of the rock, and oil. I'm sorry, my bad. Y'all know my mind is not right sometimes. He made him suck honey out the rock, and oil out of the flintly rock, curds from the herds, and milk from the flock, with fat lambs and rams, herds of Bashan, and goats, with the finest of wheat, and the blood of the grapes you drink wine. Sound kind of gross. Blood of the grapes. You could have just said with the juice of the grapes, the grape juice. This you're supposed to read this. Remember, he said, read this to the little ones as well. Read this to the little ones about sucking honey out of rocks and blood out of grapes. I really want to go see some Hebrew Israelites in the seventh year and see if they do this at the Festival of Booths, which I doubt they even do the Festival of Booths. But Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. You waxed fat, you grew thick, you became sleek. Then he forsook God and made him and scoffed at the rock of his salvation. They steered him away to jealously to strange gods. They steered him away to jealousy with strange gods. And abominable practice, they provoked him to anger. They sacrificed to demons which were no gods, to gods they had never known, to new gods that had come in later, to whom your fathers had never dreaded. Now, this line here is interesting to me because those lines, because he's talking about as the Israelites moved into Egypt and then they start worshiping other gods in Egypt and so on and so forth, that they are worshiping these new gods and gods that they had not known. These gods were not new. The Egyptian gods are older than the Canaanite gods. How long to the next seventh year? I have no idea. I'm gonna find out though. But they were worshiping gods that had already been established long before there ever was an Israelite. This is some hyperbole right here because what they're just trying to make it seem like their God is older, their God is the real God, their God is the true God, when it's not even slightly. But to admit that these other gods exist is also part of their henotheistic beliefs that their God exists, but also other gods exist as well. So he's talking about that time frame, and then also the time frame that they were under Assyrian control and start worshiping the gods of the gods and goddesses of the Assyrians, whom they are still claiming to be new gods, but they are not new gods at all. You were unmindful of the rock that begot you, and you forgot the God who gives you birth. The Lord saw it and spurned them because of their provocation of his sons and his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end will be, for they are a perverse generation, children in whom is no faithfulness. They have stirred me to jealousy, and what is no God. They have provoked me with their idols, so I will stir them to jealousy with those who are no people. I will provoke them with a foolish nation. Interesting here. Once again, let me explain. This God just said that they have stirred my jealousy with what is no God. They have provoked me with their idols. If a God can be moved by an emotion, an internal emotion, then that God cannot be God, because then the emotion, the energy of jealousy is stronger than this God, because the emotion of jealousy can cause this God to act, to be a certain way, to go outside of the character of a good God, a just God. So if the emotion of jealousy is stronger, then that God is not the God. Doesn't fit, doesn't deserve to be worshiped. Also, in Christianity, in the New Testament, it talks about the Father. And I think it also says it in the Old Testament, but I know in the New Testament it talks about the parents, fathers, and mothers not provoking their children. But right here, I will stir them to jealousy with those who are no people. I will provoke them with a foolish nation. Do as I say, not as I do, is always is a part of this guy's identity. But let's continue. For a fire is kindled in by my anger, and it burns to the depths of Sheol, devours the earth and its increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. So he's being controlled by anger. And I will heap evils upon them. I will spend my arrows upon them. They shall be wasted with hunger and devour with burning heat and poisonous pestilence. And I will send the teeth of beasts against them, with venom, with crawling things in the dust. In the open, in the open of the sword shall brave, and in the chambers shall be terror, destroying both young man and virgin, and suckling child with the man of gray hairs. So old men are going to kill babies, and they're going to destroy the young men and the virgins, because this God is mad because they chose not to continue to worship this God. So genocide and kill, murder, and let's kill the babies, because hey, those babies should have known better to be born to these perverse generation. I would have said, I will sacrifice. I will scatter them afar. I will make the remembrance of them cease from among men. Had I not feared provocation by the enemy, least their adversaries would judge amiss. Least they should say, "Oh, hands of triumph, the Lord has not wrought all of this." Okay, so let me read that again so that we can have a clear understanding of what they're saying. I would have said, I will scatter them afar. I will make the remembrance of them cease from among men. Had I not feared provocation by the enemy, least their adversaries should judge amiss, least they should say, "Oh, hands of triumph, the Lord has not wrought all of this." Basically, what he's saying is that if I just scattered them, then I'm worried that the devil will get all the claim, all the credit for what's happening to the people. When you read this in other versions, it's more specific to that, but it's basically saying, I don't want my adversaries or the devil to get credit for the destruction of the Israelite people. I want to make sure that this God, gets this credit. That's why I'm writing y'all this song. That's why I'm telling y'all. So this is Deuteronomy 32. So this is that line there always threw me off, because I'm like, why does this guy want to make sure he get credit for destroying people? He said, now you Jerome said, now you know this. Uh, if there was such a people as Black Hebrews, Israelites, their God would have made that song that rhyme. It might have rhymed in their language. I'm gonna give them that much. I'll give them that maybe in their language it did rhyme. Just in this, reading it in English, it doesn't. Kind of like if you listen to an Indian song in English, it doesn't rhyme. TikTok is acting stupid again. Now I do understand what you're saying, Ruben. How the Anunnaki is claimed that they put a worship gene inside of man. I don't know why my TikTok lives always go off and on, off and on, off and on. It does this over and over again. TikTok irritates the shit out of me. I'm gonna stop saying that because I say it every time. All right, so this guy wants credit. He want to make sure he gets the credit for all the evil stuff that happened to these people. To continue this long ass song, for they are a nation void of counsel, and there is no understanding in them. If they were wise, they would understand this. They would discern their latter end. How should one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to fight, unless their rock layeth the smacketh down on their camp? No, I'm sorry. Unless their rock has sold them, and the Lord had given them up. So basically, he's making sure that he gets claim for their destruction, and that the devil, his enemies, don't get claim for their destruction. He want to make sure he gets all the credit. For their rock is not our rock. Even our enemies themselves be judges. For their vine comes from the vine of Sodom and from the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of poison. Their cluster are bitter. Are bitter. Their wine is the poison of the serpent and the cruel venom of the asp. So again, this guy wants credit for destroying people all the way down to the babies. Got to scroll up a little bit. Is not this laid up in the store with me, sealed up in my treasuries? Vengeance is mine, and the recompense for the time when their foot shall slip. For the day of their calamity is at hand, and their doom comes swiftly. For the Lord will vindicate his people and have compassion on his servants when he sees that their power is gone, and there is none remaining bound or free. Then he will say, where are their gods, the rock in which they stood refuge, who ate the fat from their sacrifice and drank the wine of their drink offerings? Let them rise up and help you. Let them be your protection. So he's saying that, hey, I got all the power. So don't give no other God credit for me, for y'all destruction, and even for when y'all get y'all get revalidated to me. I'm vengeance is all mine, just like goodness is all mine. So don't give credit to no other God. As a matter of fact, ask them where their God is at. Ask them where their God is at. Well, here's the question for anybody on here who is a Christian or who are believers of this Bible. Let me put it that way. Anybody who believes this Bible, where is your God? Where is your God to all those people who believe in this God, but they're starving and their children are starving? They're being abused by people. They are enslaved. They're in sex slavery. Where is this God throughout history, through all the atrocities that has happened to people who believe in this God? He don't show up for them. In the same way he claimed that this God, that other people's gods won't show up when they are going through their stuff. Where's this God? When does he show up? He shows up in stories that are written hundreds of years after a situation has occurred. I don't know what the hell that was. Y'all got my back, right? I don't think anything gonna come over that fence, but I should have brought my gun out here just in case. All right. Who invented polytheism? Everybody. Everybody. Everybody invented polytheism because they looked at nature and they determined it was some type of god. Even the Israelites were polytheistic originally. All right, so he wants to make sure he gets all the credit, but nobody God ever shows up. Nobody God ever shows up. The only God that's ever going to show up in your life is you. That's it. No other God is showing up in your life because no other God has ever showed up in anybody's life. If you saw the video I did today where the guy was asking the question about, well, was making a statement that Harriet Tubman would not have been able to escape from slavery had it not been for her belief in God. If that hadn't been for Jesus, like I said in that video, she escaped slavery because of the pain of slavery. It had nothing to do with their God. Now, people will take their beliefs in something to reinforce the actions to which they're taking. But how many slaves tried to escape and were then murdered? How many slaves tried to escape and then were punished, didn't escape and were punished? Far more did not achieve success in trying to escape slavery than those who did. But it was the pain that caused them to leave. But most of them were captured and most of them were beaten. Some of them even got free and still got captured in free states. Where was this God in all of this? Where was he? Where was he? Oh, got another Aussie in the house. These guys never show up. You show up, cause and effect, and the strength of your mental power. That's what matters. So let's finish this long, stupid song. We're almost at the end of the song part. See now that I am he, and there is no God beside me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. And there is none that can deliver out of my hand. Oh my God. We have the, oh. So, sorry, TikTok be doing stuff. You have to scroll this thing to match it up to make sure that you're still on there. Um, For I lift up my hand to heaven, and swear, as I live forever, if I, with my glittering sword, and my hand taketh hold on judgment, I will take vengeance on my adversaries, and I will requite those who hate me. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, with the blood of the slain and the captives, from the long-haired heads of the enemies. Praise his people, O you nations, for he avenges the blood of his servants, and take vengeance on his adversaries, and make expiration to the land of his people. So basically, he kill and he make alive. He wounds and he heals. He pretty much is both good and evil. And it is all based on whether or not you believe in this God, follow his commands, his laws, and his ordinances. If you do not follow them, you get clapped. You get you get murdered. What the man say? And yet Tina Turner chanted Nam Yo Ho Regio Ko, which is the mystical law of Buddhism, and that inspired her to improve her life. That's what we learn in Buddhism, that causes and effects is the effect of your life. Exactly. Exactly. And I tell this story sometimes, but I got a chance to meet her, Tina Turner, for like, it felt like 10 minutes, but it was probably all of 45 seconds. But because I was enamored by her so much, because she was sexy as hell at 50 something years old when I was in my 20s. But she said, I asked her why she's still performing. This is when she had her last album that she had came out with back in the mid 90s. And she was just told me that she just has such a love for life, and that she was such a happy person. And at this time frame, I didn't know much about her history. I already did. I knew about her history at that time frame. But her Christian life had her getting her ass whooped her whole life. Her escape was through her dropping Christianity, loving herself enough, and finding a pathway that worked for her. That's why I always tell people, if something is keeping you sane and keeping you happy and keeping you from murdering people, stay where you at. I don't want you to come out of it. Stay there, right there. Stay in your bullshit. But for the rest of us, hell no. But yes, controlled by fear. Exactly, Ruben. This religion is based on controlling people with fear more than anything else. So let's continue this chapter. We're almost done with this chapter, and then we can have free, open conversation. So whatever other conversations you guys want to have, start getting ready to gear those up. So Moses came and recited all the words of this song in the hearing of the people. He and Joshua Joshua the son of Nun. And when Moses had finished speaking all these words to all of Israel, he said to them, Lay here all the words which I enjoin upon this day, that you may command them to your children. Command them to your children. That's what it said. Command them to your children, that they may be careful to do all the words of this law. For it is not trifle for you, but it is your life. And thereby you shall live long in the land which you are going over the Jordan to possess. Which is interesting, because at no time in history, there is a little space of time, a few decades, that after the Levant was not controlled by the Egyptians, they had a little bit of time of establishing themselves as Israelites for 5 or 6 decades. And then they were conquered by the Assyrians. And then after the Assyrians, they were conquered immediately by the Babylonians. And then after the Babylonians, they were conquered immediately by the Persians. And then immediately after the Persians, they were conquered immediately by the Greeks. Then they had a couple decades about a decade where they were independent and reconquered by the Greeks, and then conquered by the Romans. And then the Ottomans, and then the British, and then the Ottomans, and then back and forth until 1948. So they didn't live in this land. None of this shit was happening. This was being written at a time frame where they were being conquered by the Assyrians. So all of this is bogus bullshit when they're talking about controlling this land. And the fact that, like I said earlier, the walls of Jericho were already down when these people supposedly went in there. But they weren't even a real people at that time. They were still nomadic people. When they were under the kingship of Saul and David, they were still just a large nomadic tribe. They may have been a little bit more stable. But they still lived in tents. Even during the time of Solomon, they still lived in tents. So they weren't this big prosperous community in the Levant. Not for centuries. Hell no. So the last part of this chapter. And the Lord said to Moses that very day, ascend this mountain. This is messed up, by the way, to me. And the Lord said to Moses that very day, ascend this mountain of the Abiram, Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, opposite Jericho, and view the land of Canaan, which I give to the people of Israel for possession, and die on the mountain which you ascend, and be gathered to your people, as Aaron your brother died on the Mount Hor, and was gathered to his people, because you broke faith with me in the midst of the people of Israel at the waters of, I'm about to say this name wrong, Meribah Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin, because you did not revere me as holy in the midst of the people of Israel. For you shall see the land before you, but you shall not go there into the land which I give to the people of Israel. That's petty. This is a very petty God. Moses minding his own business. According to this story, Moses minding his own business, being a good sheep herder. Got him a nice little Midianite wife doing some hurting, some hurting. This guy said go to Egypt. He said he didn't want to go, but he went. God tries to kill him on the way. His wife cut the foreskin off their sons, and God don't kill him. Moses should have known right then that this God is petty. I'm going to send you to free my children. Oh, you didn't circumcise your sons because your wife is Midianite? I'm going to kill your ass. But his wife, she does it. He goes through all the bullshit in Egypt, brings the people over, kills the 3,000, get rid of the golden calf, gives them all the laws, bring down the manna. He does everything this guy wants him to do. But then when he strikes a rock with a stick, even though this guy told him to speak to the rock, and the rock poured forth water, and then Moses is irritated with the people. You got people in the desert mad and thirsty, but he gets irritated with them. And then he takes the claim a bit. Him and Aaron take claim for the water coming out, and because of the way they did it. And now this guy said, because of that, your ass ain't gonna go see the promised land. That's petty. This guy wants all the credit for everything. Everything. And the belief of these people, the people who believe in this book, they give this God all this credit. They act as if people are not born without this God. People do not achieve without this God. People don't suffer without this God. People do everything people do all over the world, the overwhelming majority, without this God. This God has no power other than the power that a person gives this God through their mental thoughts and their emotions. That's it. Because when you read 31, 32, this God is a petty kid who gets angry and is controlled by jealousy and controlled by anger. And if people don't like him, I don't know if y'all watch the show The Boys, but this God is Homelander. He's Homelander. Homelander is a Superman-like character who is the most powerful being on the planet, but yet craves the love and affection of the people. And when he doesn't get it, he murders the hell out of people. This God is Homelander. Right. And then he said, Stefan say, I'm going to go send you to free some people. Even though the Pharaoh would have let him go. Nah, but I'm going to make sure the Pharaoh don't let him go. It's a bunch of bull. So that's the end of this reading for Deuteronomy 31 and 32. I think we just continue to see how petty this God is, how um, childlike and made up this God is. This is not a God that anyone should be worshiping uh, at any point of their lives. This is a horrible deity. It's a horrible deity. Bright Boy, I'm not going to read all of that, but he's claiming that the serpent is the father of polytheism. Um, TikTok is acting stupid again. Somebody playing some music over there. One of the neighbors is getting it in. All right, let's see what Bright Boy is saying. And I'm not going to do both of them. That's too much. That's too damn much. The serpent is the author of polytheism, but even if there are others, as we have said, who are called Elohim, they are under the power of Yahweh or Yeshudam. I don't know how to say that right. For thus says the scripture of Yehuda. I'm gonna fuck that up. He is the Elohim of Elohims, the master of masters. Prove it. You cannot prove that any of that. That is belief, Bright Boy. That is all belief. And belief is not proof because Brahma is the god of all gods of the Indus religion. Olorun is the God of all gods in the Indus religion. For the members, those who are members of Facebook and YouTube, they know that in the Egyptian mythology that I just did today, on the longer version, because you couldn't see it unless you remember, Amun is the god of all gods of the Egyptian pantheon. So people can believe some deity is the god of all gods. That doesn't make it true. Right. Homelander is good because he does compare himself uh, with all compare himself with this god multiple times. He does. I like the boys. I don't know when the next episode comes out, but I watch it. Uh, Stefan said, on a side note, if I was Jesus, I'd have been mad at God for every moment that I spent here on earth and definitely on the cross. Yeah, to hell with a mission. I'd have been like, this is bullshit. We can just, we ain't got to go through all this to forgive the people. I don't believe Islam is just as messed up as any other religion. But at least in Islam, this God just forgives. You don't have to uh, do a human sacrifice to forgive anything. Oh, you said the same thing about Homelander when he genocided that crowd and smirked about it? Yeah. And told the kids to look. Exactly. I never thought about it. I might do a separate video talking about how Homelander is Yahweh. Shelly said, I have archived everything my heart desired without that wicked God. Yeah. Because you don't need him. I've achieved. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. I've achieved. I read that completely. I said archive. Achieve. She wrote it right. I wasn't thinking. I was thinking. But yeah. Episode comes out on Thursday. Oh, what, ain't that today? Okay. I'll be watching The Boys tonight. I'm gonna go on a sidetrack right here because of Stefan. Stefan is telling me that I got to come to Savannah for some good food. So about a year ago, Stefan, me and Angelina went to Savannah. I don't normally eat seafood because I don't normally eat flesh. But seafood is the least flesh that I would eat because I'm just not a big seafood guy. But I do like grouper because I lived in Tampa for a while. And the grouper that y'all got in Savannah, it sucked. Maybe the Atlantic grouper is not as good as that Gulf grouper, but that Gulf grouper in Tampa is good. That's some bullshit y'all got. Angelina didn't like her food either. When we come down to Savannah, we just coming down to Savannah. Go to Tybee Island, enjoy the beach. But y'all food is not great. Maybe you could point us in the right direction. Maybe you can. And then we went to a cigar lounge, and the dudes and the person, I don't know, I forgot who it is who lives in Savannah that we met at the cigar lounge. Maybe it was the young lady who was here earlier who said she was from Savannah as well. I'm mad at her. We get down there and they're like, yeah, it's a lounge. We get there, it's not a lounge. You can't smoke inside. You have to sit outside. And it was hot as hell. It was hot as it was hot as balls outside. Mm-mm. Right now, we mad at Savannah. Savannah is not our happy list. Now that was a sidetrack, so let me get back on track. Y'all, let's come back, come back, come back, come back, come back. I like a preach. Come back, come on, come back, come back, come back. Ruben said it's the Anunnaki control since the millions of years of gene integration. Now, this is my, and I'm gonna do a separate video about this one again as well. My thought process on the Anunnaki is that the Anunnaki are really just pre-last ice age humans who had an advanced civilization. They may have lasted for 100,000 years, 200,000 years, however long they lasted, but they were advanced, understanding. What is it called? I forgot what it's called. They were a level one society, In a level one society scientifically, and I forgot what is called, the measurements are called. It might be a Kepler, might be the unit that they utilize. Um, yeah, Savannah did us dirty. But the Anunnaki which a level one society is able to use the energy of the earth to facilitate their technologies and their life. Right now, we are a zero. Okay. We are not able to use the energy of the earth properly to be able to facilitate life and achievement and scientific advancements. We are level zero society. But a level one, we be able to use the energy from the earth's core, the energy from the water, be able to use the energy from volcanoes, from lava flows, from all the earthen energies for our betterment, for our benefit. The previous civilization may have been at that level simply because of some of the monuments that were left, meaning the Sphinx, the pyramids all over the world, the pyramids on the Giza Strip. I keep saying Gaza. Pyramids in the Giza Strips were power plants. They were not freaking uh, tombs. The Tower of Babel was a communication tower for Marduks. So they had things, but they didn't survive that last ice age, and they didn't survive um, as a society, they didn't survive the Younger Dryas flood, and they restarted civilization. Did they manipulate man's genome? There is some scientific evidence that something manipulated man's genome. That's about it. And then man might have thought that they were gods because they had flying machines and things of that nature. That's about as far as I'm going to give the Anunnaki. But even in the Anunnaki stories, Anu is not the supreme god. Anu still has a father. Anu is like 5, 6 generations down from the kings. They still had the concept of the all. They had the hermetic teachings of the all that is unknowable and undescribable. There's no relationship to have with it. It's just energy, right? But I don't think the Sumerians give us the full picture of them. I think you have to look at what the other societies, ancient societies, were saying about them as well to kind of get a better picture of them. Uh, Atum and Ra could have been a part of the Anunnakis. Osiris, Isis, Quetzalcoatl, um, all of them could have been part of this whole, what we call the Anunnaki. But just like regular humans, they were just as corrupt, just as evil, and did just as many effed up things. And the fact that we still declare them as being some type of sentient beings that's from eternity is foolishness on our part. And see, the falling angels would be nothing more than if the world ended, like society had a huge disruption, like the movie 2012, and American society was the one that was victorious and still survived, and the dominant information that went out. Then the USSR would be the fallen angels. Iran, Iraq would be the fallen angels. Your enemies become the fallen angels. There are no fallen angels. It's just your enemy. And Enki and Marduk were Enlil's enemies. Bri boy, you be writing some long stuff, man. Do not think that we say that these things are only to be received by faith, but also that they are to be asserted by reason. For indeed, it is not safe to commit these things to bare faith without reason, since assuredly truth cannot be without reason. You cannot have truth without reason. And therefore, he who has received these things fortified by reason can never lose them. Whereas he who receives these things without proof, by an assert to a simple statement of them, can neither keep them safely nor is certain if they are true. Where you get that from? But I agree. Just to assert something does not make it truth. You have to have some reasoning behind it, but then you also have to have some proof behind your reasoning. Like what created your reasoning for what you are asserting. This is why I only can assert what I can back up with some levels of proof. And when we look at this Bible, there's very little to no proof of anything in it. There's proof of certain cities existed and a few people existed. But as far as the mechanics of this deity, we have no proof of those things. What is with y'all and writing all this long stuff? Ah, you know how hard it is to read these long diatribes. Yes, we've heard of the Anunnaki. Anunnaki, or the theorists believe, the Anunnaki is a group of deities of ancient Mesopotamian mythology, specifically Sumerians, Akkadians, Assyrians, and Babylonians. They are believed to have been powerful gods who created humanity and governed the universe. Here are 5 intriguing facts about the Anunnaki. One, came from a different planet. I don't think they came from a different planet. They were pre-Earth civilizations. The Anunnaki are believed to have come from the planet Nibiru. Nibiru is a mistranslation by what's my man name? I love his books. His books do have some good stuff in it. But as we learn more and more about the cuneiform and the Akkadian Sumerian languages, we came to realize that some of his stuff was not accurate. Did they understand that Neptune was blue and thought it was at water? Did they identify planets in the solar system that that we didn't discover with telescopes until the 1800s? Sure, but the Anunnaki coming from Nibiru and being able to live on Earth is a huge stretch. Huge stretch. I want you to think about this. Think about this for a second. And actually, yeah, this is what I'm talking about on Anunnaki video tomorrow. Think about this for a second. We are intelligent enough to know that life on Earth, to live on Earth, we're not talking about life on another planet. Life on a planet that goes around what's the nearest star? Andromeda, I think, could be totally different. But to live on Earth, you have to be able to either breathe in carbon dioxide or breathe in this mixture of oxygen, nitrogen, and what is, I think the main component. The main component is nitrogen and oxygen. You have to be able to breathe on this planet. You have to be able to eat the foliage and the food on this planet. You have to be able to withstand the conditions on this planet, right? To live on Earth for our type of life to live. Nibiru has this long elliptical orbit that goes way out of the habitable zone for any type of life on Earth to survive. It would stand to reason that if beings can survive on a planet that goes farther out than Pluto, that they would not be able to live on a planet Earth. It's just fit biology wise, it does not fit. It won't work. And that's one of the reasons why I can't get down with, gosh, I wish I remember the guy's name who wrote the books. Earth Chronicles, Off Book of Enki, Genesis Revisited. Y'all know who I'm talking about. It's it's far-fetched that those things can live on Earth. Just in the same way that if you took a human and you try to take it to Mars, you can't just walk around on Mars the same way you walk around on Earth. And maybe they had some spacesuits. That's about the best you're gonna be able to do. They had some kind of spacesuits. But look at all the different levels of existence that they would have and adapt to, and technology wise, to go from way beyond Pluto, come close to Earth and circle the sun. Because remember, in his story, their planet Nibiru came so close to Mars that it ripped off the atmosphere, and it came so close to Earth that it caused the deluge. So yeah, it had to come into the habitable zone. Ooh, I had a little ash on that. It got me. My man said, what if the Anunnaki are silicon-based life forms? I can't speak much to that because what would it take for a silicon-based life form to be able to live? What kind of air do they breathe, or do they breathe at all? What do they eat? What temperatures can they withstand? You know, I haven't done much research into silicon-based life forms. Thank you. That's not how you spell his last name. But Zachariah Sitchin, yes. Zachariah Sitchin, thank you. He wrote Zachariah Shittin. I appreciate Zechariah for the first translations of the cuneiform tablets, but of course, like anything, the first time you translate something that's brand new, you're going to make mistakes. So I'm not calling him a hoaxer. It's just the first time you do something, you're going to make mistakes. Are you familiar with the Hyksos invasion being the origin of the Exodus account? I'm familiar with the theory that has been debunked multiple times that the Hyksos invasion was the origin of the Exodus story, considering that the time frame of the Hyksos doesn't fit. The pharaohs don't fit. Um, them becoming slaves don't fit because they weren't slaves. The only part of the Hyksos that fits the narrative is that they came and they was in the north the Nile Delta area, and that they had a guy named a pharaoh, is supposedly one of the pharaohs or leaders, left the Egyptian kingdom, went to the Hyksos kingdom with a bunch of lepers, and renamed himself Moses, and then took a bunch of them across the field of reeds into the Sinai Peninsula. But it has been determined and demonstrated that the Hyksos story can in no way be the Exodus. The Exodus story is just simply made up from when they were freed from being a vassal state of the Egyptian people. I mean, it's really that simple of a story. It's of an explanation, I should say. There's not a lot to it. You know, they freed them. The Phoenicians freed them from the Phoenicians freed them from control over the from the Egyptians, and then they created this story. You can use the aspect of Ramosis, who was one of the last worshippers of the Akhten, who fought Tutankhamun on the Red Sea and made his way to the Sinai Peninsula, and then made his way up to the Levant, and that was with the Shashu people. You can make that claim. You can make the claim that it came from the Midianites, who were worshippers of Yahweh, which there's a pillar uh, in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, it's in Saudi Arabia, that demonstrates these Midianites being acknowledged by an Egyptian pharaoh, who were wandering people, nomadic people who worshiped Yahweh. So we got multiple places they could have pulled this storyline from. But to say they came out of Egypt is also something that they can utilize to separate themselves from the current Canaanite people that they actually were separating from. They actually separated from Canaanite people because they were Canaanite people. But yeah, as far as the Anunnaki, we just don't know. Um, David, you're right. We wouldn't know unless we can find Lemuria. What's the other one? Mu, or Atlantis, or the Anunnaki just show up and say, "Hey, look, let me tell y'all what really happened. We really just Earthlings, but unless they had the ability to fold space or uh, travel through wormholes or something, they ain't traveling from here. They ain't traveling from another place. Saber, I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. I haven't researched that in a very long time. Um, he's asking about the ball cycle influencing the Jesus myth, especially in Revelations. I don't remember what the ball cycle is. Marcus says they have found 9 planets, or they have found planet 9 with moons and our second failed sun. A second failed sun? So, what is it, a white dwarf now? And are you suggesting that they are a uh, second or third level society that has figured out how to transfer energy from a white dwarf to be utilized in their society? Because the I don't think, from what I can remember, the Anunnaki story says nothing about them utilizing a second star in that format. And if they had that technology when they took control of Earth, why wouldn't they have utilized that same technology to embrace the power of a much stronger star? That right at my head. Did y'all see that? Bastard. I heard of the Elephantine Jews, but you have to remind me what that is. And I just saw that recently, but I can't remember right off the top of my head right now. Atlantis could have been a world culture that dwindled away into myth. It's logical that that has a um, running. It's a topic that has you running in circles. Yeah, Atlantis. We don't know what Atlantis really was or really is. We don't know if it ever actually existed. It is as much myth right now as the city of Troy was myth until they found the city of Troy. And they found the city of Troy by following the Iliad and the Odyssey and following that story, and that's how they found the city of Troy. And then Troy became real. But because Troy became real, does that mean that um, Achilles is real and is the son of Zeus? It doesn't mean that. So we would have to, if it's under the water, then we just got to find it. And if we find it, I'll be more than happy to change my thought process on them. And if we find that their story that we find in the Atlantis is saying that they came from another planet, I will be more than happy to amend my thoughts. But until such a time, we do not have that kind of proof. Stefan said that I like to believe that our purpose here on this planet is to make peace with ourselves and with other members of creation, and to eventually raise the vibration of this planet to its highest point, to where we can finally shift into a utopia that we all yearn for. For the Jews, Christians, and Muslims, it's heaven, Eden, and for Buddhism, it is within. How do you feel about this, Coach? I am in 100% agreement with you that that would be the best situation. All the other religions that does the heaven hell kind of thing is set up to create division amongst people. It creates division amongst its own people. Buddhism, Taoism, the Hermetics are some of the very few philosophies that people mistakenly call religions that actually is talking about harmonizing within yourself and then harmonizing with everything around you, which would include all the people and all of nature, right? So if we were able to harmonize like that, we would be able to come together and get rid of racism and nationalism and, persecution and gender bias and all these other things, and literally be one world. I am all for a one world society, just not controlled by people who are of lower vibration. So I am 100% in favor of that. I was talking to my new little nephew the other night, and we was like, I asked him, I said, if you could have any superpower, what would it be? That little joker said Spider-Man. I like, boy, you're missing the boat. You got to think bigger. You want something like Professor Xavier. That way you can rid the world of racism and all the other stuff that I just talked about. You can raise the vibration of the people on the planet so that the world is at peace and we all work together and we all striving for the betterment of humanity to be able to reach our highest levels of consciousness and vibration. That's where your mind, that's Spider-Man can't do shit. He can't do nothing about that, you know? It'd be some mind control, yeah. Or maybe it's just something needs to be tweaked in everybody's mind or turned on in everybody's mind that raises the consciousness. Not necessarily mind control. I hear you, Ruben, but not necessarily mind control. But there's got to be some switch that happens that elevates the person's mental vibration, because we see it in certain people. If Siddhartha Gautama was a real person and the events of his life are actually reality, then he reached the Buddha mind, which mean and he says that everybody can reach the Buddha mind. That's the goal. And the Buddha mind is actually higher than the Christ mind when you look at it on the scale. But to reach that level of consciousness where you are only seeking the betterment of all and the betterment of yourself, is that's what Star Trek is based off of. So if we can do that, it'd be great. Somebody says something that what did I see? How does anyone can I'm not exactly. I think, Michael, I think you're using that typing text, because I know that typing text be getting me good all the time. But I think you're saying, how does any one thing will have anything to do with us when we have something and something in favor of killing dogs? I don't know what are Arads and Ahilas. I don't know what that is. But if I'm understanding you correctly, why would any beings from another planet want to have anything to do with humans? Because we can't get our shit together. If I was an alien monitoring Earth, I'd be like, nah, they ain't ready. What was that movie Contact, when she went and had her 13-hour visit with her daddy on the space planet, and they was like, y'all ain't ready. Basically, they told her, y'all ain't ready. You humans are still too violent, and y'all are still too disjointed and separated. And I understand what you're saying, Rodriguez, because I'm gonna mess up your name, even though I'm working on my Spanish. Carino. It's better to start with your own tribe. Yep, you got to start with the people that's close to you, close people that's around you. But just recognize your tribe is not just your blood. Your tribe is not just people who look like you, who sound like you, who have the same nationality and culture as you. Your tribe is anybody who comes into unity with you, regardless of where they come from and who they are. And then hopefully others start to seek the same thing. David said, if I were to accept a religion, it will be Buddhism. Not that I'm going to join a religion. If I was to accept the one, Buddhism was one that I used to say that. If I was going to be a religion, it would be Buddhism until I started reading the Tao. And the Tao is, as Sun Tzu say, once you understand the Tao, you no longer need Buddhism. Um, because it's all about getting into the flow of the way, getting into the flow of energy of the universe. You no longer need it. And your treatment of other people is fair. And you're more apt to look out for the world than you are to look out for yourself. But Hermeticism is still better than all of them, as far as I'm concerned. Because I don't think they come from Earth. I think that if there were an Anunnaki species that we were talking about here, that they were just Earthlings. They were already Earthlings. They didn't come from to Earth. They were already here on Earth. You got to think that last ice age lasted from 5,000, 50,000, around 50,000 BCE up until about 12,000 BCE. And although it had its cooling and then it started warming and then it went into a deep freeze around 15,000 BCE. Uh, the ice age is hard. Ice age of that magnitude for that amount of time. Some things, some people will survive, but most of civilization will not. Whatever civilization was there. So I think they were already here, just Earthlings, maybe even a different species of Earthling. I'm only putting this up here for the chuckles of it all. You've got a lot of time to waste. You will be surprised soon enough, and you will see your folly. Isn't it amazing how people who believe in this book waste their time coming on people's pages who do not believe in their book? And the first thing they show is their teeth. They bare their teeth at them. You will be surprised soon enough, and you will see your folly. As somebody has spoken about Tina Turner earlier, my life has been all the better since I was away from this religion. And the further and further away I get, the better my life has been. We met some people a week or so ago, about a week ago, and they might be some good people. I got to send a guy a text tomorrow, right? Want to go ride some horses. And one of the things that I noticed, he wore the cross on his necklace. And I wasn't bragging. I just told him, I have plenty of time, to go ride horses. Whenever you want to go ride horses, let me know. I got plenty of time. Dude, I am retired. I ain't got nothing else to do, you know. So I say that because he made the comment, man, shit, I wish I'm waiting on that one. He was like, damn, that's nice right there, And I was just messing with him because we were just having a regular dude conversation. I was like, yeah, man, waking up at noon is great, you know, and which I got to stop doing. I got to get up earlier. When I was a Christian, I worked damn near 7 days a week, barely saw my family, barely got to enjoy the spoils of the work that I was putting in. And the more and more I've gotten away from that religion, the more I've enjoyed life, the more I've had an appreciation for life, the more things have come my way, opportunities come my way, and I took advantage of those opportunities because I put myself in position to receive those opportunities. Remember we talked about what was serendipity last week. So I'm always amazed at these Christians who they come and it's like they want to spoil your good time. And I think part of it is because they're not having a good time. Most Christians are probably trying to go to bed right now because they got to go to work. In marriages that they are not happy in, got children acting out. struggling financially, in poor ass health. Get over yourselves. You might find that there is something better, that there's a better way of life. But, and right, Kevin, they can never come on here and dispute the evidence of information. It is always a personal attack, which is sad to me. If the only way you can defend your belief is through personal attack, then what you're really demonstrating is that you have a weakness in your belief. And it's funny. There's this guy, I did videos about him today, Fred. When you going live, let me know the next time you're going live. And I told him I will pre-post when I go live. And every time I go live, Fred is never here. What's going to happen to me when I die? Because my mind is so powerful, I will manifest whatever next existence I choose. That's what'll happen to me when I die. I'm not going to your heaven. I don't know if you're Christian or not, so let me not say that. I'm not going to anybody's heaven, nor am I going to anybody's hell. I will continue to thrive just in a consciousness, in a place, a place of being where everybody around me is working on a high vibration. All this colorism, all this sexism, all this racism, war and famine, it won't exist. And nobody's being punished forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. You're just existing wherever your mind is telling you that you deserve to exist. That's what happened to me when I die. Can I prove it? Hell no. But is it the most logical thing based on the existence that we live in today? Yes, it is. Because based on the existence we live in today, there are different levels of consciousness that we currently live in. So therefore, there most likely is higher planes of consciousness at different levels, just as there are lower planes of consciousness at different levels. But in one way or another, what I can guarantee, we will always exist. We will always, your energy cannot not exist. There's no such thing as non-existence. Like zero doesn't exist. Non-existence does not exist. So look at the world you're surrounded in right now. And I want you to think about it logically. Think about it with all the logic. A dog has a consciousness that is at a lower level than your human consciousness and awareness. An ant has one that is lower than the dog. On down to the atomic level, there is levels of consciousness at the atomic level. Scientifically, it has been demonstrated that different stimuli causes atomic molecules and atoms and protons, neutrons, to electrons to be repelled from certain things and attracted to certain things. So there is a level of consciousness that is existing multiple levels below us, probably millions of levels below us. There are different ones along the pole of existence. If there, from your point of existence right now as this conscious being on earth as a human, there are millions of degrees below you, it would stand the reason that you're not at the apex to the full right, but that there are millions of degrees of consciousness above you as well. This is written in the law of correspondence. As above, so below, as within, so without. That along the scales of energy and consciousness, there are millions of levels above you and below you. You are just currently vibrating at the level that you're vibrating at now. So if you develop your consciousness to a state of knowing, even a strong guessing, strong estimation, I should say, then invariably, if your true mind, not the one that you speak on, not the one that you think out front, but that true mind that you know you scared to deal with most of the time, indicates that you are the controller of it, that's where it's at. That's what you will manifest that. If you're a Christian and you believe that you deserve hell, guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna go to hell. You're gonna manifest your own hell. I would advise you to the best explanation of that, better than the Hermetic explanation, is, and Stefan probably have read this one, but I know we did a live on it, and I did a video about it a year or so ago. But it is the Tibetan Book of the Dead, is what Americans call it. But it goes through the process of samsara, and that process of samsara is you manifesting everything you're afraid of, and you then choosing what portal you're going to enter, whether or not you enter into a hellscape, a heavenscape, or you come back to earth. That is the Tibetan Buddhist belief system, which is the closest in any construct of religion that mirrors the Hermetics and science. And then also, one other thing to add to the whole concept of what you can experience here, and which will help you to understand it. Every person on here right now lives in their own universe. And I used to do this as a kid. I used to sit on the porch and I see a car go by, and I'm like 9, 10 years old, and I'm thinking about this kind of thing. I'm like, that person who just drove by lives an entire life that I'm unaware of. But for that moment, that split second that they drove by the house and they looked over and saw this little kid sitting on the porch, we lived in a shared universe for just that moment. We lived a shared existence for just that moment. And now it's gone. And they're living their own universe. So we are all currently living in a shared universe that is our own self universe. And it is only like right now, these last 2 hours, that any of you have been on here for however long, that we have been living in a shared universe. The moment this live ends, everyone on here will go off into their own separate universal consciousness of life on this matter plane of existence that we're in right now. So if we do that here and now, we would do the same thing when we leave this matter universe completely. We may share in a universe again somewhere else, but we probably won't. We probably won't, because we're all not in the same mindset. I ain't sounding nothing like Terrence Howard. I've been listening to some of his stuff. The mathematical stuff I can't get with, but I can, some of his flower of life stuff. I'm curious about that pattern of the flower of life, why everybody got the same one. But I understand the Fibonacci spiral, the flower of life pattern can be observed in nature and in the universe, looking at the stars, especially when we didn't have all this light pollution and smoke and all this shit. But I haven't listened to enough of him talk. I don't know what he said about afterlife. But that is something I realized as a kid, that we share in a universe, but we also distinctively are in our own universe. But you created from when you leave this one. That the Book of the Dead, I would recommend it to read the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It is a good read. But it's a solitary thing. Kind of like the old saying, you came in this world by yourself, you're going to leave this world by yourself. You ain't going nowhere with nobody else because you didn't come here with nobody else. You came by yourself, you gonna leave by, even twins. When they came in by themselves, they gonna leave by themselves. And that is why the inner workings of your mind and the inner workings of your emotions are the most important things that you could work on in your entire life. But I do think that most of y'all coming back. Most of y'all gonna come back. Because if you look at the samsara one, there are opportunities. There's always an opportunity in every stage to choose to go on to a higher existence. But within that process, you have to maintain control. You have to gain control over your emotions and your fears, right? Well, that answers that question. Your emotions and your fears. We got a new tent thing over us, and we was wondering if it's waterproof, and no, it's not. But at every time you have an opportunity to choose. At the end of the day, they're the most familiar portal to you, as they claim, will be the portal of coming back to earth. It's a good read. Y'all should read it. If you weren't on that video or that live, you should go read that one. I think it's a good thing to read. Imagine we can raise, Stefan said, imagine we can raise the vibration of the planet so high that we effectively get rid of all the pain and suffering, anger and hatred that exists. Forgive me, coach, I'm young, 28, but I'm still learning. Age doesn't matter, man. You learn. I know some 28-year-olds who are wiser than some 70-year-olds. Uh, you're never going to be able to get rid of all the pain and all the suffering, though. Pain and suffering, love and hate exist on a pole. It's just a matter of degrees of how much effect they have. There is no ultimate level of pain. I mean, ultimate level of pain, and there's no ultimate level of peace or healing, or I don't know, pain and no pain. There's always a little bit. You have the yin yang symbol. It's somewhat of a representation of that. That no matter how much white you have, there's a little black, and no matter how much black you have, there's a little white, and the black and the white holes represents portals to travel between the two. So it's talking about the pole. You'll never not have none of something. There's always a little bit. That's why there is no heaven per se as a place where there's nothing bad going on. There's always something. Even in the little biblical Enochian story, they were in heaven with the angels and they had a war. The Brahmins talk about a war in heaven. You know, even in the most peaceful place, there is a war. But when a dog dies, is it just gone? Not the consciousness of that dog. No, that consciousness of that dog does something. Hell, I don't know what it does because I'm not at a dog level of consciousness. So without being knowledgeable about a dog's level of consciousness, I can't determine what a dog knows and doesn't know and where his consciousness goes. Right, Ruben. The flower of life allows you to understand the universe through dimensions. And especially when you start looking at the flower of life fourth and fifth dimensionally instead of just second and third dimension. There you go, David. Doesn't matter what you acquire here on earth in this body. I do like the chakra systems, and in able to open your crown chakra, you have to be able to release all your earthly attachments. That means your earthly attachment to your body, to your family, to your loved ones outside your family. They still your family, but to your possessions, to everything. It's not that you have to give them up. I think that's a mistake that people make in these thought processes, that you have to give them up and live this life without anything. But you don't have to have, you can let go of those possessions by merely by how you treat them and how you respond to them. It's like I say to people all the time when they comment on my car. I'll just tell them it's just a car. If somebody, like when I let certain people drive it and things like that, they're like, you let them drive your car? It's just a car. If something happens to it, get another one. If I'm living in a place where I don't need one, I wouldn't have one. It's just a car. People look at me, oh, how do you smoke in your car? It's just a car. I love my hats, but they're just hats. You have to be able to let go of those things. I wish you had control over that, Michael, but you don't. If you were to come back to earth and you come back to some shitty parents, then you come back to some shitty parents. According now, this is the messed up thing about samsara. You will be attracted if you come back, and correct me if I'm wrong, Stefan, because I think you've read it. If you come back, you will come back to what you are most attracted to, which will have similarities to your previous life, unless you gain some type of mental control over being attracted to that. It's kind of like boys who watch their fathers beat their mothers wind up most of the time being abusers as well. Uh, Women who watch their mothers control their fathers wind up being controlling, abusive women as well. So it's something that we can grow up hating. We can easily find ourselves replicating. So for me, like one of the things I always looked at, I saw the relationships that my mother had, my father had, my grandparents had, and yeah, there are certain things about them that I find attractive, but I was very adamant about seeing the things that I did not find attractive and ensuring that I did not embody none of those things. And I've done a very good job of making sure of that, you know. And it's sometimes it's things that society doesn't say is great. My grandparents, I thank them for their stability of keeping the family. But I never saw not one time a display of love and affection and appreciation. I can't say appreciation, but love and affection between my grandparents, to whom house I grew up mostly in. And so when I grew as I grew up, I always made sure that I became an affectionate person to whomever I'm mating with, because that's where I wanted to be. Now, I did take that a little overboard. So if I met somebody and we start talking, and then let's say we have intimacy, we have intercourse, you my lady. That's it. You my lady. I would take that first moment of intercourse and say, you my lady, and we gonna be together forever, which is some of the worst things you can do in dating. So then it took some time, but I realized that if the situation is not beneficial to both of us, I don't have to stay there. My grandparents felt like they had to stay there. I realized I can have a stability with my children without being with their mom in the same house. It was depressive for me to not be in the house with my kids all the time, but I was still a great father, and we still worked together as parents to raise our children the best way we possibly could, based on their personalities. So people talk about taking the good with the bad, but most of the time people don't. They reenact what they've grown up seeing. That's why the video I did today, where I was asking people about the woman proposing to the guy, what are your thoughts on it? Because I know that most people's thought process is going to be based on what they've grown up believing, not what they think truly. Because at the end of the day, it don't matter what we think. The only thing that matters is if that couple is happy about what they're doing. Who cares if the woman proposes or the man proposes? You shouldn't. It's what makes those two people happy. But people get caught up into, well, I grew up in this religion, or I grew up with these traditions, and this is how it's supposed to happen for your life, but not for anybody else's. See, I think control is an illusion, is like chasing a rainbow, always in sight and just out of reach. I like the hats also. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Angelina is the one who finds all my hats, so all the glory goes to her. Ooh, TikTok just froze on the worst look I could possibly have. But no, there is no such thing as control. The only thing the closest control you can ever have is control of you. That's it. Control you. And even that is a lifelong work. Will you ever have full control of yourself? Hell no. And there is no realm of existence where you will have full control of yourself. You will have much higher. You can have much higher control of self, but full control of self, nah, it doesn't exist. Yeah, but people do get caught in a cycle quite often. Dwayne, what's up, sir? Felt the same way when you was out of the house and with my kids. Yeah, that's a hard thing. People don't realize the emotional stress that a man who desires to be a great father to his children, not being in the house with them, is incredibly stressful and depressing. And because of society, we have to man up with those emotions. But I didn't. I chose not to. I chose to let my emotions out. My children knew exactly how I felt, and it's amazing. Because of that, my girls understand men expressing their emotion. Now, my son, we still working on him. He's learning to express his emotions. Yeah, he's learning. Yeah, the flesh of the body and this matter form universe we're living in right now, existence. You controlling that 1% control, you're just not gonna get it. And I understand what you're saying, Michael, but let go of the anger, let go of the irritation, let go of the disappointment of your parents. Recognize that that was their problem, not your problem. That was their issue, not your issue. Like I explained to my kids over and over again, even to this day, that me and their mother getting divorced had absolutely nothing to do with them. They weren't the cause of it, um, or anything of that nature, and they should never internalize it as they were the problem. And that one day they should recognize that it's not for my own sake. If they still feel anger towards me or anger towards their mom or whoever they may feel anger towards, that anger is only damaging them and is not doing anything to the other person. You know, it may hurt their feelings, but they're going to go on about their life. But why damage yourself? Why hurt yourself? I love me too much to hurt me. You know, uh, so I don't. The things that my mom did and my dad did. Like I'm gonna tell you, I was very angry with my father for a very long time because at first my thought process is that he just left and didn't take us with him. Then I found out that a judge told him in so many words that he got to get out of the state of Georgia. He was gonna put him in prison. My dad was a rascal, even though he owned his own business. He was a rascal. Uh, then I found out that he wanted my mom to come with him, but my mom didn't want to leave her mother, so I was mad at my mom. But then I was mad at my dad because every time he came to Georgia to visit, he never spent time with me. He spent more of that time with my mom and with his friends that he grew up with. And then when he tried to become more friendly with me when I moved to Florida, and now I'm in my 20s and I got my own family, I didn't want to have any parts of it. I didn't want to play that game. I was angry. But then I started to realize that anger was just hurting me. I'm denying my children their grandfather, who I can't blame him for wanting to be around them when he didn't want to be around me, is how I took it. Instead of looking at the circumstances of their life and the choices that he made, and he thought he was making the best decision. I'm different. I did things differently. When my children were young, I was not going to leave Georgia because I was not going to be out of the sight line of my children. There was never going to be a time where they can say that they could not. If they needed me, I was there. If they wanted to see me, I'm there. They just wanted to talk to me, I'm there. So I let go. The more and more I let go of the anger I felt towards my parents in those situations, the better parent I became to my children and the better I became to myself, because I'm the creator of me, no one else. People tried and people put things in you, people teach you shit, and they tell you things and they raise you to think and be a certain way. But at the end of the day, as you get older, you have to decide who you're going to be. No one else can decide that but you. And you have to decide whether or not these things are part of who you desire to be, or if these things are not part of who you desire to be. And then put in the effort and the energy to make what you desire to be your reality, because you are the causation of who you are. But as long as you're letting other people do it, those people have control over you. As long as you let politics do it, race do it, gender do it, uh, religion, parenting, friends, all that bullshit, you have to decide what everything means to you. And we will be doing more and more lives. Angelina, be on my tail about doing lives, you know. And I just like the last live, I was honest. I was saying that I wasn't doing lives as often as I could, because I treat this like I was treating this like a hobby. Because to me, it is a hobby. You know, these Christians or Bible believers think that this is my whole life. And no, this shit was a hobby. And if it wasn't raining today, y'all wouldn't have got a live, because we would have went to an event tonight. So y'all wouldn't have got one. And I wasn't feeling well earlier this week, so y'all didn't get one. But you will get more, because I will start treating this more like a business. I understand hate and anger all too well, but we should be thankful that we have those people in our lives. You should, because this is why I like the chakra system. You would think that the heart chakra and the crown chakra are at odds with each other when you look at it on the surface, right? But in reality, they work in tandem with each other. Your heart chakra tells you to be appreciative and take in the love that you receive and get from other people. Crown chakra tells you to be able to let go of it, that have no earthly attachments to it. So love someone, but be able to let them go. It works actually in tandem to recognize your personal ascension. Have the love for people, but do not have the love for people so much that you can't let people go. Appreciate people, but don't appreciate them so much that you can't let them go. So have that, but also be able to let them go and not be devastated by it. Oh, Ruben, you're in Atlanta? Well, we'll be in Atlanta in about 2 or 3 weeks, and we'll be there for about a week before we head out. So, and I always let you guys know where we're going to be in case people want to meet up. Texas, Grand Rising, young lady. What do you recommend? What do you recommend people teach their teens about sex and when to engage? Yeah. Oh, it's a touchy subject, but it's a great subject though. So teenagers have sexual influences coming from all different directions. Their bodies are changing, and their bodies are releasing chemicals that cause them to be enamored by the pleasures of sex. And then there's so much peer pressure and so much sexuality around them. The best thing to do, in my opinion, is to teach teens about sex to the level of their understanding. I taught my kids when they were teens that sex is an amazing, wonderful thing that is shared between people who have a loving connection between the two of them. Now, we know as you become adults, people can have sex without any emotional connection at all. But the true usage of sex is beyond just procreation, but sex establishes more and more of an emotional connection with a person. And yes, people can do it without that emotional connection, but I teach them that that is what sex is for. It is for you to derive pleasure with a person that y'all develop heart energy connections with each other. And I can't tell you when you are at that stage where you can have that type of connection, but you got to be mindful of whether or not the other person has that heart connection for you. And they can demonstrate this in how they treat you, how they talk to you. How much are they willing to do to make sure that you are comfortable, respected, happy? How much do they spend? How much time do they spend doing those things to demonstrate through action, not their words? Especially when I was dealing with my girls, the way I told my girls, young men lie. I lied through my teeth to get that poom poom when I was younger. Girl, you know I love you, and we're gonna be together. You the only woman I want to be with. There's so much about you that I love. There's so much about you that I just want to see you thrive and grow and da 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 da. Telling all them lies, taking them on picnics, romancing the hell out their stone. I told my daughters all my lies. And then I told them, but my actions towards that person didn't demonstrate the words to which I was speaking. And it's the person's actions that you got to watch. Now, I implore them, I would want for you to wait until you are much older because there are also consequences to sex. There's babies, there's diseases, there's babies, there's connection, there's babies, you know. And if you have the baby, you're going to take care of the baby, you're going to have to work. You can still go to college, but you're going to work through college. You are now responsible for a whole human. And when I was still in my 20s, I was in my 20s in the Marine Corps for 4 or 5 years, well established. And it still was a struggle for me to have a child because I still freaked out. So, I gave them all the information, overloaded them with information about it, but I never made it a bad thing. I never made it something negative because I wanted them to make sure that they have a good, positive mindset when it comes to sex, because when they get into a relationship at an older age and they're thinking about marriage or whatever, um, or just being with someone forever, having a great sexual relationship is vital. I even talked to them about, I told my girls, you need to know what your sexual levels are, and you're not going to learn that until you experiment through it. And when you do, you need to find a guy that matches you. Now, I told my son the same thing, because if they don't match, y'all going to have problems. So y'all need to have the same level of sexuality, the same type of stuff you want to do, the same type of sex environment and everything need to be as close as possible. So I taught them, I was telling them this when they were teenagers. Now, my son, I told my son, I said, look, you're going to lie and you're going to say all these things to a girl, but you need to be honorable. You have sisters, you have a mother, you have aunts, you have cousins who are all women. Would you want some man treating them like trash? Would you want some man lying to them? So I basically used the golden rule towards him. Don't treat other people how you wouldn't want the women that you love to be treated. So don't be that guy, because if you are that guy, it may come back. It's going to come back on you in one way or another. Either it will come back on you in your own life, or you're going to see it happen to somebody else. And you might see it happen to somebody that you love, even if you're not doing that. But when you see it and you've been doing the same thing, there's a level of guilt that will whoop your ass if you are a truly decent human being. Now, if you're an asshole, you won't care if somebody's treating your sister horribly. And I use his sister Simone on him most of the time because I know that's the one he favored. And I would tell him that, would you want somebody treating Simone that way? No, I wouldn't. Then don't treat that little girl that you like that way. Treat her with respect, treat her with kindness. If y'all do engage in sex, let her know whether or not you're trying to be with her forever. If you don't, if you be honest, hey, we're in high school, we're just having fun, we're dating. This is just something I want to do while we're dating. I'm not saying that we're gonna be together in college or after high school or whatever. Just be honest. And if she's still like, okay, then ask her, are you just saying okay because you're trying to please me, because you want to be with me and you're not controlling your emotions, or are you just truly okay with it? According to him, he did things that way. So that's what I told my teenagers. I know that was very long, but that's what I told them. I believe in being as honest as possible, but giving them as much deeper information than the basic shit that most people get. I got nothing from my parents. I like that. The gift of living as humans is that we connect heaven to hell through reflections and meditation. Yeah. And you see it in your own life over and over again. I do not believe that most people are meant to spend 60 years of their lives with only one person. Some people like me though, can though. In my opinion, most of us have about three major love partners. What say you? Ah, Bronx Tale, a Bronx Tale. You're only going to have about three loves in your life. Only three great ones. For me, they all three came when I was young. What are you going to do about it? If she's one of the great ones, let me tell you the test. It's the door test. Before she gets in the car, you push down that button. You get out of the car. You go around. You open the door. You get in, put her in the car. You walk around the back. If she doesn't reach over and pushes up that button so you can get in the car, get rid of her. Because she's selfish and you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg. I love a Bronx Tale. Sorry. But yeah, I think people do have differences. That's why I don't have a problem with polygamy, polyamory, swinging, uh, people who get divorced, people who stay married for however long. I just have a problem with people who stay in relationships and they're unhappy, or people who lie in relationships. If you are a person and you're having an affair with somebody while you're supposed to be in a relationship, you would be better off just being honest with the person and saying that I want to be with you, but sexually I want to have sex with other people as well. Or I want a second wife, or I want a second husband, or I want a girlfriend or a boyfriend, or I want to be swingers, or, you know, I'm happy and fine with us just being together forever. Or what I think it's some state that is trying to say that every 7 years you have to renew your marriage license. Hey, we've had a good time, but I'm good. I'm ready to move on and try something else somewhere else. You know, I don't have a problem with that. It's hard to be with the same person for 60 years because you have to then be able to grow together and grow in a certain way that so all right, me and Angelina took our cross country trip on the motorcycle, right? Although we were both together damn near 24 hours a day, right? We still had different experiences on that cross country trip. And those experiences, no matter how minute, created certain changes in both of us. The question is, did we grow together? Did it strengthen us in our unity? Or did it tear us, or those small things separate us? And you have to be aware of that at all times, is what's pulling us away and what's bringing us together. This experience we just had here, is it pulling us away or bringing us closer together? Good one. One of the things that pulled me and my kid's mother apart from each other is when we lived in Germany. I never wanted to leave Germany. She wanted to come back to America. That because we both had different experiences while we were living in Germany. We internalized it differently. And then when we got to Florida, a month later, she's talking about she wanted to go back to Germany, which pissed me off because I had it set up where we could have stayed. Now, in having those that experience, which was a major experience, was one of the things that pushed us apart because now I'm forced to live in America, and I didn't want to live in America, and now I know that she really didn't want to go back, but now I can't go back, so I'm pissed. And then when I had an opportunity to go back a few years later, emotions ran, and we still didn't go back. So now there's more and more stuff that just separates you. So you have to be mindful of every experience. Oh yeah, I tell Angelina, and I know she's listening, and I don't care. I mean, I care, but I don't care. She's a keeper, as long as she keep acting right. I told her, if this messes up, it'll be her fault. It'll be her fault. It won't be mine. Libby says she'll love this. You'll love the 7 year option. I think it's a great thing. Yeah, most people grow up in churches where they believe that divorce is a sin. And it's only religious beliefs. I don't think it's a sin. Why would you have two people still together and they can't stand each other? Then they're raising the kids to not to look at a relationship where two people don't like each other. That's not a good environment for them. 46 years, hey, Congratulations. And I only say that because I'm going to presuppose that you have 46. You and your wife are tight knit in a still loving, exciting relationship. Now, if y'all in a boring, irritated relationship, 46 years don't mean a goddamn thing. But I hope that it's not that. What the hell is Dwayne saying? There are only two kinds of a JJ you will enjoy, your first and your last. Bullshit. You better enjoy all of them in between, man. All of them in between. I enjoy all of them in between. Look, I can understand you have a bad night. Shit, we all have bad nights. I have bad nights. She has bad nights. We all have bad nights. But you can't have a bad week, a bad month, you know, a bad year. Hell no. No. If you do, you need to go figure out some shit. You got to figure some stuff out. You know, look, oh, you was in Frankfurter? Oh, and I was in Stuttgart from 93 to 97. Let me tell you something. I need all my dudes to listen up. All my dudes, I need y'all to listen up, okay? You can't let it get boring. You can't let it get boring. One, you need to learn how to be a toy master. Be a toy master. Don't don't be embarrassed about the toys. Don't think the toys gonna take your place. Become a toy master. Know how to utilize them toys while you're utilizing your body. Become a toy master. Become adventurous. If she's adventurous, you're out, you're on the balcony. Yeah, somebody might be able to see you, but who gives a damn? Have fun. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. Don't be boring. Romance her stone, romance her mind. You got to do that. All right. And ladies, there's a reason why the Hawk 2 girl is so damn popular. Men are simple. Men are simple. Most men, some Hawk 2 and we good. But there are those men who like variety. I'm one of those. I couldn't do the same thing over and over again. Like if you got that, I've known people who have that routine where it's like, okay, she did this. Now I know the next thing she's gonna do is that, and then the next thing she's gonna do is that, and then she's gonna do this. That's boring. That's boring. Mm-mm. We gotta have some differences. You know, come into the room dressed up like something different. Put a wig on. Put some outfits on. You know, all that. Now, ladies, I'm telling you, I know it's more apt that a man will step outside the relationship than a woman would back in the day. Nowadays, it's about equal. But I'm telling both of y'all better keep it interesting, whatever it is. And if it don't work, call her today peacefully. Hey, you know what? This ain't working. You're not willing to do X, Y, Z. This is what I want. We got to call it a day. That joke said picnic table. There you go. Tie a ribbon around it. So you can call me a human pool toy. Yeah. So y'all don't know my second favorite subject to talk about is sex. Y'all don't know that, but that's my second favorite subject. Is there a such thing as bad sex with a person you love? I believe each experience can be beautiful in its own way, 1 minute or 20 minutes. Yes, there is. There is such a thing as bad sex. It doesn't matter about your emotions towards a person, whether or not the sex can be good or bad. You can have the most mind blowing sex you've ever had in your life with someone who you have absolutely no emotions towards, simply because they know how, or they have, like dudes also, you got to pay attention to a woman's body when how she responds and reacts to everything that you do. Like you're not down there just to be thinking about yourself. You got to be down there focused on like, okay, how did her body move when I did this? Or how did her body move when I did that? What were the sounds, everything, right? Um, and 1 minute, 1 minute sex is hell no. There are very few women who are so orgasmic that they can have an orgasm in 1 minute. All right. There are very few dudes out there in the world who can get a woman to orgasm in 1 minute. And time becomes dilated when you are having sex. You could be sitting up there thinking, like, huh, I put in a good hour. And you look over at the clock and it's like, damn, it's only been 15 minutes. And you sweating like a mother. You run out of cardio. Whoo, 20 minutes. 20 minutes of straight intercourse. I ain't talking about the foreplay, but just intercourse. If a dude tell me, man, I did an hour straight intercourse, I'd be like, you lying motherfucker. Do you know how much cardio you got to have to do a straight hour of pumping? You lying. 20 minutes and you sweating. That's like being on a treadmill and going damn near full speed for 20 minutes. It's not happening. But to your point, 1 minute or 20 minutes, there is some time that has to be in there. It has to. Because especially when you're dealing with a woman's body, even with a man's body, you got to warm him up. You got to warm him up. You got to take him to the height, but then don't let him hit that orgasm and let him come down a little bit, about 60%, take him back up to about 80%, bring him back down to 20, about 60%. And you do that a few times, about 5 or 6 times, bringing them up and down, right? And then, when you're ready for them to get that big one, and because women can have orgasm after orgasm and orgasm, you can do this repeatedly, then you let her hit that 100%. And then when she's running and all that, now don't let her get away. And then you bring her back down to about 60%. Then you go up, down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Then you hit her again. And you go up and down, and you hit again. I'm very jealous of the female body because y'all can have orgasms over and over again. Dudes, 1, 2, 3, we done. All right. But woman, so bad sex, you can be totally in love with somebody and still have bad sex because that person doesn't know your body or is not trying to know your body, is not trying to take you to those heights. They're still selfish about their intimacy because they're just making sure they get what they want out of the situation, or they are so conditioned to say, okay, I'm gonna do this, then I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do that, and we done, because they develop their own routine because this worked for this girl, and now I'm just doing the same shit for every girl that I ever get involved with, and that doesn't work. That doesn't work at all. Each woman is completely different. And although some things do cross over, you still got to figure out that woman, right? But you're going to have those times where y'all do it and it was okay. But there should be more. Whew, that was good. Oh, just hold on. Don't touch me for a second. You should have more of that than you have, huh, that was all right. But you can definitely have some bad ones. Michael Smith, you lying. Michael said he did 8 hours straight. You lying. I can tell you one reason why you're lying, because every time you get a nut, your urge to go urinate increases and increases. There ain't no way in hell you went 8 hours straight. You had to at least take a bathroom break, my guy. Lying ass liar. To know damn 8 hours. And when I was in the best shape of my life, I wouldn't have been able to do 8 hours. Yeah, and this is another thing. For most men, and it's most, I wouldn't say all, most men, sex is non-emotional. For most women, sex is emotional. This is why men can have sex with women and not give two shits about them. But most women have to at least care about the dude. But there are women who can go the other way, and there are men who cannot have emotional sex, non-emotional sex. Let's change the convo. Well, why? Bernie Mac says about 50 pounds. I know you kidding, Eric, because I did that one time. I said, okay, Bernie Mac said that. And it was actually after I saw Kings of Comedy. I said, I'm going to try that. And you know how quickly you can do 50 pumps? You can do 50 pumps in less than a minute. Less than a minute. And that's some bullshit. What of cigar is that? This was the Partagas Verde. Partagas Verde. It's becoming one of my favorite. I know y'all talking about him talking about that 8 hours. Yeah, y'all know that motherfucker line. You remember in Coming to America when old girl was like, an hour, 2 hours? A man got to put in overtime to satisfy me. And they were looking at her like, what the hell? I would have too. Hour, 2 hours? Nah, nah, nah. What did Richard Pryor say in Harlem Nights when she was like, I want to make love all night long? He said, how about we make love real hard for about 20 minutes and go to sleep? Y'all don't know. 20 minutes of straight intercourse. And if the man is doing the overwhelming majority of the work, his ass is sweat. Did y'all ever see that video where the guy, I guess his wife was talking shit. So he made her do the pumps. And then she was like, I think on like 3 or 4 minutes went by. And she was like, that got to be like 20 minutes. And he was like, nah, that's just like 3 minutes. And she was like, oh my God, this is what y'all go through. And then she caught that cramp. And she quit after that cramp. And y'all know we can't quit just because you get the cramp. You got to work through that cramp. You can straighten out that leg, but still keep going. You can't. You got to work through the cramp. Whether it's your foot cramp, you got to keep going. No, this is Partagas Verde. You got to keep going. To hell with that cramp. That cramp ain't got nothing to do with what you're doing. Most of the time, when I get a cramp, she don't even know. Got a cramp. Unless you get that one on the inside of your leg, because you know that shit hurt. But it's the Partagas Verde. Yeah. Now that inside the leg cramp, that's a whole nother story right there. Whole nother story. Ooh. And then you're gonna be sore in the inside of your leg for about 3 days. That damn cramp right there. Is that a Clinton cigar? Man, you crazy. I can't stand Bill Clinton. I ain't never had more Marines on food stamps and welfare than when he was president. Mm-mm. Never heard of Cigar Obsession, but I'll check it out. Uh, oh man, y'all are funny tonight. I got to talk about 2 of my favorite subjects: spirituality and sex. A lady told me she wanted me to knock her socks off, and I put her to sleep. So I gave her some sleeping meds and stole her socks. Oh my God, Eric, I'm gonna put you in that category with trauma now. Stupid. Give us some, get her all liquored up, or put her to sleep. Steal her socks. But that's what, as far as knocking a woman's socks off, the answer is simple. The process is not. The answer is learn her body. Well, first, sexualize, make love to her mind, and then learn her body, and you'll be able to knock her socks off. But you got to learn her body. I had a cousin that told me when I was very young. Admittedly, my sexual escapade started at a young age in my life. I'm not ashamed of it. It is what it is. And one of the advice that she gave me when I was 14 years old, she said, if you focus, and this was also her telling me how to know if you got a good woman in her young age. She was only like 18, 19 at the time. She said that you know you got a good woman if when you make love to her, you focus on just pleasing her. Because you're a guy, you're going to be able to get yours. but just focus on pleasing her. But you'll know she's a good woman if her focus is whether or not she's trying to please you. If she's not trying to please you, dump her. To go back to a Bronx tale, dump her. And I took that wholeheartedly. You ain't trying to please me? Nah. And I take it and that's all realms of life in a relationship. If everything is about you and what makes you happy, dump her. And I ain't got no problems doing that. And Angelina messed with me because she knows the story of I was on a trip with a young lady. It didn't matter that we was on a trip. You know, watch your welcome. When we get back, we done. Longest 6 hours back I've ever had. But actually, it wasn't that long to me. I was like, it's over. And with me, when it's over, it's over. Like mentally, like you know how people have to take months and years to get over a person. The moment I made up my mind that it's over, it's over. There ain't nothing for me to get over. Was the third plague trying to change the subject? Was the third plague lice or mosquitoes? I would have to go back and look at it because I don't know the order of all the plagues. I don't remember mosquitoes being a part of the plague. I know flies, but I don't remember lice being a part of it. I have to look that up. I can't remember off the top of my head. This fool, back in the day, I was drunk and thought I was going to town on a nipple and found out it was a pimple. That is so nasty. Michael, you nasty. That's just gross. Do you see marriage as an attachment? What do you think of long-term relationship with no marriage? I see paper marriage as allowing the government to be a part of your situation where there is no need for the government to be a part of it. Um, it is just legal paperwork at that point. Uh, but I see, to me, marriage is truly the commitment that two people make to each other. You don't need a judge. You don't need anybody else around you. And if you truly love that person, even though the relationship may end, if you truly love them, you're going to be fair to them. If somebody's not being fair at the end of a relationship, they were never in love with you in the first place because their anger is more powerful than the love they may have had. So to me, there is never a need for paperwork. If you do need paper, the only kind of paperwork I think you do need if you're going to be with somebody long term is you need a will, a living will as well. So you need a regular will, a living will, and you need a power of attorney. That's it. If I believe in being on the same bank account, so if something happens to me, I die, she already has control of the bank accounts. Like right now, if something happened to me, Angelina has access and control of the bank account. She can go in there and do whatever she needs to do. She has access to, she knows all my passwords to everything, so she can do everything that she needs to do. We don't need paperwork. You know, for me to call her my wife, which I do call her that, is not because I need any paperwork. It is because of the commitment we have towards each other. And if she act up, nah. And I am a person that if let's say Angelina after this live is like, I don't like the way you was talking about me. I'm done with you. I don't want to be with you no more. I would be completely fair in all the dealings. I'd be hurt, but I would be fair. Because why wouldn't I be? I love this woman. The love doesn't just evaporate immediately. So why wouldn't I be fair? You should always be fair. Yep. Touch a woman with your fingers at all times. I do believe in having that contact. Um, Even when you give a massage, like when I give Angelina a massage, I try to make sure that my hands never leave contact. Even when I'm applying more oil, I put the back of my hand on her body and pour the oil in my hand and then just flip it over real quick when I'm ready. You know, rub it in and then flip it over. but always maintain some type of contact. And then where your fingers go make a difference. You can't be tickling her now. Right, Texas. I didn't think that there was any lice. I don't recall any lice during the plagues. Right. Paper marriage is a contract. True marriage is organic. Don't need it. I don't need paper. Oh yeah, you're right, Libby. Life insurance. Life insurance is very important. Only time you don't need life insurance is when you rich as hell and got a whole bunch of money. But life insurance still can't hurt, even at that level. So get some life insurance. I think that you are an okay man. I'm a great man. The hell you talking about? Okay, that's some bullshit, Michael. Nah, just kidding. Appreciate it. If you are married for a certain amount of time, it's common law. So you may need to be protected by a prenup. Um, and you finish it, especially when you're older and already established. Okay. Most states have gotten rid of common law marriages. Like the state of Georgia doesn't recognize common law marriages anymore. If a woman ever came to me again and said that she want, because I've only had that statement to me one time, that she requires a prenup, the way I'm brushing these, the way I brush ashes off my shirt, if they fall on my shirt, that's what I'm gonna do to that woman. I don't give a shit how established you are. If you're coming into the relationship already prepping for the relationship to end and you need to protect yourself, we should never be together in the first place. Now, that's just my thoughts. If you got two people who are both established and both of them are saying, yeah, let's get a prenup, I think they've already doomed their relationship. Most relationships end because of sex or finances. Those are the two major reasons why most relationships end: sex and finances. And both of those involve trust. So the real reason is trust. If I can't trust you with my money, I don't want you. And the thing that trips me out, most men don't give two shits about what a woman has as far as finances are concerned. Most men. If you are dealing with a man who's a homosexual, then you don't need to be dealing with him in the first place. He needs to be let go because he's only there for the comfort of your money. He's not there for you. So I wouldn't. And for men, if you're dealing with a woman who is only after you because of what you have, either recognize it for what it is and play with it, or don't get involved with it in the first place. So I would never, if that, you know what, that video that I did where what a woman can say that completely turns me off, I didn't add that part in there. I think I did say something about if we, 50, the money never comes together. But if the money never comes together, if we're not unified financially, we can't be together. We can't be together because unifying financially is a huge trust indicator and a huge amount of trust for us trying to be together for the rest of our lives. Right. And if we're not trying to financially build so that we can be comfortable in whatever level we both come to the agreement is comfort, I don't want to be with you. You know, if Angie came to me and said that I need a prenup, I'd be like, okay, go and get you one. Go and get with the lawyer. All right, when I'm gonna meet you with the lawyer? On Tuesday? Okay, I'll be gone by Sunday. I'll be gone by Sunday. Cause there ain't no way in hell. Cause you just violated a trust with me to say that you are ready or preparing for the end of this. So let me just help you along the process. Because especially me, I don't give two shits about what a woman brings in the house financially as far as I want what she has. I only care about what she brings in financially so that we can unify and build it bigger. Beyond that, I don't care. So that relationship is doomed, in my opinion. That's why people wind up needing prenups, because they already set up for it. It's like you're manifesting your end, because your money is more important than the relationship. Your house is more important than a relationship. All those things are more important than a relationship. Nope. When I did that, when I dealt with somebody who wanted a prenup, they had a business, I had business. Okay, all right, sure, let's do your little damn prenup. When everything became contractual at that point. Oh, you want this car? Let's write a contract about this car. Oh, you want this house? Let's write a contract about this house. You know, you need some money, we're gonna write a contract. I need some money, we're gonna write a contract. We're gonna contract out every goddamn thing. And when it ended, that judge just said, have y'all slept together in the last 30 days? We both said no. He said, all right, then we can go forward. I gave him all the contracts, and he said, oh, this is gonna be easy. Went through the contracts. Mr. Reed, you need to take care of this. You need, and other person, I'm not naming names, you need to take care of that. And it's over. Done. But it was already over the moment we started with the prenup, because everything became contractual. Even statements were like, oh, well, I think now you need to pay this and I only pay that. And I was like, no. Why should I now take over everything and pay everything so that you can just stack your money? Remember, we got that prenup. So why should you be able to stack? And then I'm spending all my money, or I'm spending more of my money. You should be, you stacking, I'm stacking. You building, I'm building. You build over there, I build over here. They was like, oh, let's go into business together. We have to do a contract, but you will never touch this part. But we can do this part together, but it'll be a contract. Then they ain't want to do it. I say, uh-huh. You see, it created stress levels that didn't need to be there. You know, sometimes things happen. A close relative got married, and 2 weeks later, he said he didn't want to be married. They stayed married. They stayed married, and later she took on all the debt. Then he divorced her with his he. Then he divorced her with his debt. I understand what you're saying, and I'm not being mean, Texas. You know I'm not a mean person. 80% of the time. But that was her fault. That was her fault. She put herself in that situation. So if I got married to somebody and 2 weeks later they said that they didn't want to be married, we're done. We're done. Now, I don't have his debt now, or her debt. I don't have her debt. So she wouldn't have had his debt at that point. She should have been done in those 2 weeks. Now, they stayed together. That was her decision to stay together. And then she took on, listen to what you say. She took on all his debt. Her fault. She had in her mind, probably, if I take on his debt, then that's going to make him want to be in the relationship, and we will continue because I don't want to go through a divorce. That was her fault. That was her mistake. The writing was on the wall when he said that he wouldn't want to be married. And when he said that, she should have never taken on his debt. If she had called me at that 2 week mark and said, I need some coaching, or both of them wanted some coaching, I would have told her, don't take on none of his debt. Right now, y'all don't know if this marriage is going to survive. So why would you set yourself up for that failure? She set herself up for that failure. If y'all can't come together in this, no. So that was her fault. That she shouldn't have taken on his debt, especially if somebody tells you that. See, that's where emotions have to be measured at all times in every decision. You know, I've recommended the book Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill multiple times. There is one part of that book that talks about love and emotions. And he talks about the fact that you have to gain control over your emotions if you want to. And he's basically quoting the Hermetic laws, but if you want to maintain and make good decisions, then you have to control your emotions. And he talks about the fact that you have to control the emotion of love more than any other emotion, because that emotion of love will make you would make some dumbass decisions based on love, right? You'll make some dumb decisions based on love. Trust me, I've made some dumb decisions based on love. Spend more money than you should spend because you're trying to make somebody happy. Dumbass decision. And then you wind up regretting it. Or you wind up, now you're in a financial struggle because you spent all that goddamn money. And now both of y'all mad at each other. Dumb decisions. You have to control the emotion of love at all times. The emotion of love should never be so overpowering that it causes you to make dumb decisions. Yep, I knew they were going to. They were trying to work it out, but I agree with the principle of what you're saying. Right? See that trying to work it out stuff. When you're trying to work it out, you don't change things that can hurt you later on. You don't change the finances. You don't change the living condition. You don't change those things. Those things stay where they are. We need to get into a conscious agreement with each other, an emotional agreement with each other that can propel us into the future. And then it needs to be demonstrated over and over and over again that we are at this stage together, so that then we can move on and join together financially and in every other aspects of our lives. When you're trying to work it out, especially after only 2 weeks of being married, shit, you still should be in the stages at that time frame. You should be still floating on cloud nine. Now, I don't believe on ever coming off of cloud nine. Stay your ass on cloud nine. It'll make the relationship better. But most people come down off the cloud. But no, when you're working it out, we finna keep this shit even kill until we figure this out. I'm not taking on your bills when you first walk in the door. No. No. I've seen that mess too. Woman try to date me and then like a couple of weeks later start talking about money and her bills. Like, okay, you need me to help you find a job? You need to help me find you a side gig, a hustle? You need to, do you make anything that you can sell? Do you have a service that you can offer when you're off work? Me giving you my money to pay for that? That ain't happening. That ain't happening. I don't know. I just met your ass. Still getting to know you. And marriage is hell no. Mm-mm. By the time I would declare somebody wife, I have that trust that I know she's not going to go into the bank account and just go and spend everything and steal everything. Now, if she ever does, then okay, thank you for breaking my trust. We're done. Right? Out the door. Not trying to conversate about it, not trying to work on it, not trying to fix it. We're done. Right? That's where that crown chakra of being able to release your attachment comes into play. Because when a person has demonstrated who they really are, let their ass go. When he said, after 2 weeks, I don't think I want to be married. Crown chakra. Well, we done. I love you, but we done. Because you just told me who you are, and I'm done with you, and I'm not rocking with you. It sounds mean to most people. And people, I talked about it on another video. That's what I said. A thing I said on that video was a woman who says that divorce is not an option is a turnoff to me. Because divorce should always be an option, because you should realize that a person, you can't treat a person however you want to treat them and think that they're still going to be there. You can't say whatever you want to say to them and think they're still going to be there. You always have to have in the back of your mind that if I don't continue to do the things that made this person fall in love with me, if that person could leave me. So not out of fear, but out of rational thinking, I need to keep doing what it took to get that person. And as my grandmother told me before I got married, you need to do twice as much to keep that person of what you did to get that person. But you have to do that. You have to constantly be thinking, how do I make this person fall in love with me every day? And y'all know I'm a movie guy, but that's the main aspect of that movie, 50 First Dates, that I love that movie. The reason why I love that movie is because every day he had to make that woman fall in love with him. Every day. And the true meaning of that movie is that's how you create a loving, fantastic, long-lasting relationship with somebody, is doing what makes that person fall in love with you every day, right? Every day. You know, and I'm not perfect at it. Not even trying to make myself out to be that kind of guy. There are still some things I know I need to improve upon to make Angelina fall in love with me every day. There are still some things I can do. Still some things I need to improve upon. Her and I discuss these things from time to time as well. We do love checkups, right? To make sure. And I know that I need to get better, right? Because she's expressed those things. But I can legitimately say that there are certain things that both of us do towards each other or towards our situation to assist in our love every day, right? Like this morning or this afternoon. It was this afternoon. Yeah, I think it was this afternoon. Um, one of the things that I know, and don't tell Angelina, okay? Don't tell her. And I think she's on TikTok, and TikTok is acting up right now, so she ain't gonna hear it. But one of the things that I know that causes her to know that I love her is that I will protect her against any and everybody. Any and everybody. So today there was a situation that she knew that my gut is to protect her from this situation. And because of that, there are some things that I know I need to do more rapidly now to protect her from something that's none of y'all business, but protect her from something that's that could be damaging. So you got to keep doing it. Um, I also know that building this into a business instead of a hobby is something that is a demonstration of my love towards her, because by building this into a business instead of just a hobby will facilitate um, she's happy with the lifestyle that I can provide right now, and the lifestyle that at this level I can still provide the future lifestyle that we're going to have within the next 6 to 8 months. And that's at the right now level. We could have done it already, but we've just been doing so much traveling. But the travel was part of it, of showing her that I love her every day. But to give her a level of comfort that supersedes her wild, whatever she's comfortable, her level of comfortability is a further demonstration of love you every day. Um, Making sure the quality time, understanding what she feels, what gives her love, and giving that to her. And I literally think about that every day. I don't always achieve that goal, but I do think about it, and I do put forth some levels of actions towards it every day, right? And some things are just simple. You can do some simple shit to make sure that person knows you appreciate them and that you love them. You know, hell, we went into the cigar shop, and without her knowing, I found her favorite cigar, one of her favorite cigars, and just making sure that she has it for whenever she wants it. She has it. It's sitting in the humidor. She has it. Just it could be. It doesn't always have to be big, grandiose things. It could be something as simple as, I know this is her favorite cigar. Let me make sure I get her favorite cigar. You know, even though, and this was at a time frame, even at a time, not this was actually, no, that's when I discovered it beforehand. But there was a one time where, the money was a little short, waiting on payday, money a little short, and I went and bought myself the cheapest goddamn cigars that they had, which were disgusting, right? But even though I bought myself the cheapest ones, her favorite ones was in there, which cost more. I can get three of mine for the one of hers, but I made sure I got her enough of hers that she could have it when she wanted it. And as soon as she ran short of the last one, I went and got her some more. Simple shit sometimes can make a huge difference. If you fall short of what you need to do, keep her. Wait a minute. If you fall short of what you need to do to keep her, you never meant anything you did to get her. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Um, I'm not gonna say you didn't mean what you did to get her. You still could have meant what you did to get her. It's you just lost sight of it. The worst thing about being humans is that we get comfortable. We easily get comfortable and get into a routine, and then we start letting those things go because we think that they ain't going nowhere. You know, I always think that Angelina can wake up one morning and be like, you know what? I don't think that I'm going to be able to work this out with you. And it's not a fear thing, it's just a reminder thing. Okay, let me not give her reason to ever think that way, right? Let me make sure that she's getting what she wants monetarily, uh, emotionally, mentally, sexually, and whatever other leads I can think of. I've been short of money. I've been short of money sometimes. Look, I was just showing Angelina when we took that cross country trip in March because I don't think she knew, but we spent like over 7 grand going taking that cross country trip. Now, because Angelina is very budget sensitive, which gets on my fucking nerves sometimes, and I mean to cuss. I'm pretty sure if she knew that we were spending that kind of money, she would have been like, we're finna cut this trip a little short, or I'm finna find an even cheaper place to stay, and or something, because she was already finding like great deals and everything. But she didn't say it, but I saw her face, and her face was like, God dang, oh hell no. But it's sometimes I can overspend. I can overspend on some stuff. I can easily do that. You know, that's why I have to have a budget system. Otherwise, I will overspend. You know, so I've been short. I've been short. I've been waiting on them paydays sometimes. You know, so every now and then, you waiting. You might have a couple of nickels to rub together, but you try not to spend them nickels. So you're short. You know, but uh, nah. I know how much damage having bad finances can do to a relationship. So I try. I'm decent. I'm good at. Let me rephrase. I'm excellent at managing other people's money. I'm decent at managing my own money. I know that doesn't make sense, but see, when I was doing it for the military and I did it for other companies, that's somebody else's money. So I'm more acute towards making sure everything's right. My own money is like, you know what, I can probably spend this, and I'll be good to the end to this time frame when I get paid again. I'll be good. I'll be good. You know, I'm just gonna grab a little bit out of savings because I know she want to go and do this. So let me just grab a little bit out of savings, or let me just that kind of bullshit. I am more apt to do that. You have a secret stash. I did mess with Angelina one time. I told her, I said, "What if you found out uh, that I had like a secret stash in this certain bank that I've told her about when I used to do financial fraud investigations, and I knew that's where people were hiding their money? What if you found out I had a secret stash that's been in one of those banks, and I've just been letting that interest accrue over the last 20 years, and I just never told you about it?" And she was like, "I'd be mad, but I'd be happy at the same time. Mad because of the trust, but happy because it's there. But I don't have a secret stash. No. Angelina knows every aspect of finances that I had before her, during her, and so no, there's no secret stash. I don't believe in secret stashes. If a woman ever came to me and said that she has a secret stash, I'm pissed. There's no happy. There's not a, oh shit, I'm glad you got it there because now we're being saved from this situation. No, I'm pissed. I'm pissed the whole time because you just broke my trust. Yeah, the trust and trust is a big thing for me. It's already hard enough for me to trust somebody, but when you break that trust, nah. Um, This is, and like the best thing a person can do, because I've seen this in a relationship. I know another person who is the same way that I am about trust. And that person gave the person an opportunity to say, look, if there's anything you need to tell me that you haven't told me or that you lied about or whatever, if there's anything that's hidden, you need to tell me now. And we can figure it out. But tell me now. Gave that opportunity. The person decided not to do that. And the relationship is horrible. It's a horrible relationship because that person doesn't have trust for the other person. You know, don't you should never play with trust. Like Angelina would do better if right now, after this live, which I'm over time, if I went upstairs and she was like, look, I heard you live and I need to tell you this, whatever. Now it can't be that many thises. I need to tell you this and this. I'm more in a position to deal with that you came forward instead of me finding out later. Because the person that I'm talking about, they found out not because the person was honest with them and say, okay, look, I know I didn't tell you this or I told you that and this is a lie or whatever. And that just messed up the trust because they found out by third party and fourth party. No, they don't do that. Don't do that. You tell them up front. What would you do if somebody backbit you? What the hell is that? What is backbite? I don't know what that backbit you. I know I've heard that term, but I'm not sure what that means. If somebody backbit you. Yeah, I don't know what backbit you mean. Oh, wait. Talking behind someone's back in a bad manner. Oh, like if somebody's talking, like if Angelina was talking bad about me behind my back, we done. It's simple. We done. If it's somebody who's supposed to be my friend and you talking about me behind my back, you ain't my friend no more. Because for me to call you friend, that means a lot. Everybody is not my friend. 99% of the people I deal with are not my friend. Associates, not my friend. Friendship demands as much trust as romantic relationship for me. Because you're supposed to have my back, you know? Like I'm sitting here and all this is darkness behind me, but there's a fence and there's woods. I'm pretty sure y'all hear them cicadas and stuff back there. I need to know that if the bear is coming, you got my back, right? Not, oh, the bear coming. I know I got that life insurance on him. I'm gonna let that bear eat his ass up so I can collect this money. But nah, I need to be able to trust you at all times for everything. And if I find out that you're talking about me negatively behind my back, there's a problem. Like I don't hide anything. I don't believe in hiding anything from anybody. You know, you got that from the Coro. Yeah, I don't do that. Even today, somebody who's been following the page for a long time made a comment that I thought was inappropriate. Now, because Angelina doesn't read all the comments on every video that I post, instead of me hiding that comment and never speaking about it, I told her, I said, look at what this person said. Now I thought the comment was very inappropriate because it was about my past, and it's a comment that person should not have made. Keep it to your damn self. But instead of hiding it, I told her, I said, hey, look at this comment. Look what this person said. That shit is that's messy. That's messed up. I'm telling you everything, and I expect the same thing. You know, how do you feel about LeBron playing with his son? I think it's bad for the Lakers, but good for LeBron and the legacy that he's creating and taking care of his son. If I was in the same situation, I would do the same thing for my son. Um, Nepotism is only bad when it's. I mean, nepotism hurts some people, but I would take care of my kid. So 99% of the people you deal with are not even just acquaintances. I don't deal with a lot of people, you know. I don't. I don't deal with a lot of people at all. So that's why I can say 99% of them are acquaintances, because I just don't deal with a lot of people. You know, the more people you allow into your circles, the more damage you are allowing to be interjected into your life. So I keep most people at a 10 foot at a distance. We got to go through some things. We got to deal with some things. We have to demonstrate commitment towards each other before I let you get close to me, right? Because I need to keep you at a distance so that I never allow my emotions to supersede my better judgment, you know. And even if you're close to me, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna let that happen anyway. As a Laker man, I just want to win another champ. I don't want y'all to win shit, or Boston, even though that's Angelina's team. I'm a I'm a Hawks fan. That's your favorite. That's your favorite fake Bible. Oh, what is my favorite fake Bible story? The flood. I think the flood is the most ridiculous story that the Bible has ever told, and is the one that has the least amount of scientific evidence and can be debunked more easily than damn near anything else. Yeah, when you lose your honor, you never get that back. You don't. Yes, babe. I can't hear you. Yeah, let me tell y'all something. If y'all ever meet Angelina, Angelina talks to you like she whispering every damn thing. She be saying stuff and be swearing up and down. I should have heard her. Now Angelina got dog ears. You could, hey, how you doing? Is everything all right? And she could be 20 miles away and she'll hear the whatever the hell you said. But I ain't got dog ears. What did you say? Oh, and she just be messing with me. Y'all don't know, but I was talking to y'all and she was in the glass window acting crazy. Something wrong with her. I know what she really came down here to do. See, what that really is you went over 3 hours. You need to start shutting this down and bring your ass upstairs because it's already 12 o'clock. And we made a promise that we will be in bed by 12 because I need to start waking up at 9:30 instead of 12:30. So I know that's what she's really saying. That's what she's saying. You think God burying Moses is crazy? Yep. How was Moses still writing these books when he was dead? How am I not getting bit by mosquitoes? Well, one, the yard gets sprayed for bugs, even though there are other bugs that be running around. Two, I didn't use it tonight, but usually there's at Bucky's they have this all natural bug repellent. It's wonderful. Three, the cigar smoke keeps mosquitoes away. But that's, you know what, Stefan? See, my friend, one of my best friends in the world, Brandon, he sends me on, what is that, like on the 28th of March. He sends me that every goddamn 28th of March. You can go to hell, Stefan. Y'all gonna stop talking about me. Let me talk about my team like that. All right. So, hell no, Eric. Happy spouse, happy house. Oh, I missed it. Wait a minute. Where do you put that shit? Where that bullshit at? Yeah, that's it. Happy wife, happy life bullshit. I tried that one. That don't work. I had a happy wife, but I wasn't happy, so the life wasn't happy. Happy house, happy spouse. Well, happy spouse, happy house. Both parties need to be happy. This is not a one-sided thing. Both need to be happy. If only one person is happy in the relationship is never going to work. It won't work at all. Both parties have to be happy. That's why I was saying earlier that my cousin taught me. If she If one person is only focused on their happiness, on the other person's happiness, and the other person ain't focused on the other person's happiness, it's not going to work. It's not. And I've lived that, and I've seen that, and I've heard that. So I've got it in all the senses. Shit don't work. Both couples, both people need to be happy. It's not going to be perfect, but you need to figure out what's the 20% of things that gives 80% of the happiness to your mate, and they need to figure out the same thing, and y'all need to make it work. All right. But I'm going to get off here. It is humid, and I'm pretty sure I got moisture all over the place. And Angelina and I came downstairs, even though she said she wasn't coming downstairs to let me know. I ain't falling for that. I know what the real deal is. Nah, she probably just but it's actually the teamwork. I will go and do a live. I will easily do a live for. I could be on here for 12 hours. So, and I know I have. If you've been with me since when me and Kevin used to do our lives together, you know we used to turn a 2-hour live into an 8-hour live, or I mean a 4-hour live. And then if it wasn't for old boy, we would have kept going. So I'm gonna get off this thing. Nope, I'm staying with my Falcons. So I appreciate you guys and being here for this live. I don't know what my schedule is for tomorrow, but I am gonna make this more more lives. And if you see, it's these beetle bugs that be getting on my nerves. We are. If you like that first part of the Egyptian creation myth video, in order to see the rest of it, you have to become a subscriber to the page, or a member to a subscriber to Facebook, and get a subscription. It's $4.99. I know some people money is tight, but it's 2 cups of coffee, or 1 cup of coffee. That's just 1 cup of coffee. 2 cups of bad coffee, 1 cup of good coffee. If you are struggling to that level of finance, I'm not saying that you have to do it, but it does concern me, because there was one gentleman. Let me not put that info like that, because I don't want y'all to go looking for him and saying shit to people. If a person is struggling to the level where $5 makes or breaks them, let me implore you to take 3 months of your bank statements, comb through and categorize everything in your bank statements. When I'm working with somebody financially, this is one of the things that I do. Comb through your 3 months of bank statements, see where your money is going. And I guarantee you can find many things you can easily eliminate from your normal spending in order for you to be able to afford $5. A person shouldn't be in a position where they can't afford to spend $5 a month on something. I'm not saying you got to spend it on the content that I provide and the membership content. I'm not saying that at all. This is not a push for anybody to do that. Now, if you want to support the channels, that's great. I appreciate it. But it hurt me to my core that somebody is at a point where they struggle with $5 a month. As an adult, we don't want that. All right. So take 3 months of your statements, comb through it, categorize everything, look at where you are wasting money. And I guarantee that you will be able to find a few $100s every month that you couldn't go without. Right. And it doesn't mean you have to go without everything. Like, let's say, for instance, I needed to comb down my budget. Right. Instead of my 4 cigar, and I'm lying, instead of my 6 cigar a day lifestyle, I would comb it back to 2. Just combing my cigar purchases to where I'm only smoking 2 cigars a day would save me literally hundreds of dollars every month. You see what I'm saying? So it's not that you got to give up everything, but you can comb that shit back, right? If you're paying for every subscription of Prime and Paramount Plus and Hulu and all of that, comb that shit back. There's an app that you can jailbreak you a stick so that you can watch shit for free. Comb it back. There's no reason why you don't have some money left over. If you need to move to a smaller place, if you need to move, whatever the hell you got to do, you got a carpool. But there's a way for you. Nobody should be. That hurt me. That bothered me. That somebody is following my page, and that's where we are. So comb it back, figure it out. And, I had to do that. I did that. The first time I did that was in 1992. I had read the book The Richest Man in Babylon, and in one portion of the book, it was talking about a guy getting out of slave debt, right? And the process that he did, and the college professor who did it. So I would recommend reading. And you ain't got to buy the book; you can download it online. But The Richest Man in Babylon, and read that shit, and then put it to work, right? Where you are combating your debt, and you are saving money and investing money. But nobody should be in a state where you are left with no money at the end of the month. And I don't believe that anybody really is there, honestly, because that's just telling me that you wasting some money somewhere. If you ain't got $5 a month, and like I said, I'm not trying to tell anybody they need to go support this channel, but you got $5, right? And don't give it to me. I'd rather you save that five. If you can figure out where you got $5, I'd rather you save that goddamn $5 every month. And when you create the habit of saving, then you'll start to save more, save more, save more. Then when you create the habit of investing, you'll start to invest more, invest more, invest more. And then you start building a financial hedge around you, because we're all going to get to an age where you're no longer able to produce more income, but you still need to live, and there's still inflation that's going to continue to go up. And unless you plan on moving to another country where your money is longer, then you need to figure this shit out now. And you're never too old to figure it out. All right. But go through your bank statements. Everybody should do that anyway. Go through your bank statements and figure out where you can save some money. All right. Save some money. Like I said, you ain't got to give it to me. You ain't got to support the channel, but I want to support you in how you live your life. Right. That's what we do. That's why the videos that go to the membership and the subscribers is not nowhere near the bulk of videos that I put out. Right. So, don't do that. Fred, that's because you just now coming in, because we already went through your Bible earlier today, earlier in this broadcast. As you can see the clock, we're at 3 hours and 31 minutes. And this is because people have changed the subject. We talked about other stuff. But Fred, you talked all that trash about you're never live, you don't want to face me, and da 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 da. I posted over 3 hours ago that I was going live. And if you're just now showing up, dude, that's your fault. So I'm over it. So y'all have a great day. And remember always that you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. Gonna show up 3 hours.